Hello, and welcome to the Stream of Chaos. My name is Dave, and I'll be Keeper of Arcane Lore for this session of Call of Cthulhu. Today, we are continuing our playthrough of the campaign, The Two-Headed Serpent. You can get your own copy of this book from chaosium.com, and you can find all of our collected VODs of what we've played through so far over on the Chaosium YouTube channel. Now, we do stream live each Friday at 3 p.m. Pacific on Twitch, but this is actually going to be our final session for 2022. We will return in the new year. That's 2023.
Sure?
and pick up play there. Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
Sounds like a lie.
Sounds fake.
We're just gonna plug years. I kept on running 20. I found a document from like 2 weeks ago where I'd written 2020 on it, and that was way wrong. So hopefully 2023.
Again, are you sure?
I can get my head together. So that means we're gonna be returning on the 6th. That's the Friday, and for us that's the 7th because of time zones. So we'll be back then. Now, this isn't the final stream of the year. That's going to be confusing to read. We still have the RuneQuest game this coming Monday. So hop in for that as we resolve Jim is making me fight some horrible demon thing. So it'll be pretty sweet. So come by for that. Thank you to Roll20.
Making you fight yourself?
No. This one's the one that's been cursing my family clan. So I'm going to put the beat down. It's going to be sweet. So thank you to Roll20 and to Sirenscape for being tools that we use to improve our games. And without further ado, we return to our heroes in Bingham, Oklahoma, as they prepare to go out on a cult retreat into the desert. So I'll go around the table and we'll ask everyone to introduce yourselves and your investigators, and I guess give us a sense of what you've done in the period in between the church service resolves, wherever you participated. We go into the afternoon, and during this time you can make some, basic preparations. That's shopping or, setting up an intricate flying machine, your standard pulp actions. And then we're going to pick back up just after the mandatory family dinner held by Rosemary as we head into the night and schemes take place. Art, would you like to begin?
Hi, I'm Art. You've heard my voice already. Ribbing Dave, because that's what we do early in the morning.
Horrible.
I am playing Lieutenant Ares Carter, who was present at the decision to off-ski into the desert to see some snakes and maybe get cursed or healed, I'm not sure. Carter's going to spend the afternoon doing what Carter does best, which is find various things and sundry to make obstacles made of flesh disappear.
Okay. Weaponry, is that right?
So yeah, they have a fair amount of weaponry already on them, but I think we discussed briefly that it would be reasonable for me to for Carter to have brought along a rifle.
Yeah, absolutely.
So they will have spent a bit of time making sure that that's in good working order, along with the rest of their equipment.
Mm-hmm.
And had we located a map of the region by any chance? I know Minnie spent some time in the library.
Brought one with you right out of the gate. So that shows you the map of Bingham. The wider region, it does exist. I'll be honest, it mostly looks like a blank map with a couple of farms plotted out, and then it very quickly just gets bold texter writing desert. It's pretty unexplored, or undocumented at least.
Right. So there isn't any kind of like geological, like these are, elevations or what have you that...
Not super clear surveys, no. Although Minnie could try and make like a library use roll or something to dredge some stuff up from the library. Yeah, good thought.
Right.
Yeah.
If we
have
come across
something you can
like
make
that,
notes on, it doesn't have a ton of information.
that's fine. Essentially, I would also just be spending my time going over maps of the region to get a feel for kind of landmarks or, elevations, depressions, getting a vibe of like where a cave thingy might be, like if based on sort of just general understanding of landscapes. It's not something that I'm super trained to do, but
putting in the time.
I would spending time in the military, you want to get a vague idea of like, this seems like an area that you would likely find somewhere that you could hide a bunch of troops in. Or this is the kind of place where you could get like good elevation to shoot down on a bunch of troops, etc., etc. So
Yeah, absolutely. All right, fantastic. So Lieutenant Carter has gathered some weaponry and equipment and spent some time back at the Bingham Hotel poring over maps. Damn it. Wait, no, I can do it. Speaking of navigating troop movements, I think that was the last one. Jackson.
What?
Well, speaking of
Hey.
the poring over maps.
Yeah, but that's my own. That feels like I can just set myself up too easily.
May I?
Yes, please.
No.
Hey,
No.
I'm Jackson. And I'm playing Dr. Samuel Taylor Thompson, who is here just to have a good time, fly his flying machine, and hopefully fix people's skin what don't work no more thanks to snakes. Yeah. And he's going to spend the evening. Oh, no, we already put the flying machine back together in the afternoon of the last session, didn't we?
That's the same afternoon. We just kind of did a little skip
Same
around.
afternoon.
This is
He's
that
been-
same window. We're just defining it a little more.
He's putting the finishing touches on the flying machine. He's putting the finishing touches on treating a horrible snakeskin disease.
Yeah.
And getting ready to rest after a good hard day's work.
Okay. Plan to hit the hay, have a little snooze.
I think so. Unless I can convince Blacksmith Bill to take a quick jaunt in the flying machine, as Hubert promised.
I reckon he might be very tempted. So yeah,
I think so.
We'll see how that goes. Well, speaking of, I guess, this one's been horrible. A jaunt in a flying machine. That doesn't make any sense at all. It's disappointing.
Speaking of being tempting,
Yeah, damn it, Alex. Do you want to do these for me from now on? Then James.
One of us
and
works
Hubert.
it with words a lot.
one of us has a
All
job.
right. Okay. Hubert. It's Hubert. Mountain of a man, mountain of horse, and getting ready to leap off into the desert to try and find out what exactly the hell is out there. I am the big-hearted dilettante who is just doing his best.
Oh, what a sweet boy. You wanted to get a mount, right?
Exactly. Yes, I have picked up a horse, I think, and and as with everything I do, I've filled it with a little bit of pageantry. So I've also, I think, picked up a big cowboy hat, probably some like a vest and everything that I think is cowboy. If I can bring the direction a little more comic, not that we already haven't been there. I think I bought one or two slightly suspect items as well. Like there's a little. There's like a cool belt, but there's also what might be like a harness or something. And he's wearing it like it's like slightly upside down. Like he's like the worst cowboy ever.
Jim, please. Is Hubert now wearing arseless chaps?
Assless chaps.
He already did that when he got lit on fire, but that'd be
Found
great.
he quite enjoyed it.
He's wearing some kind of farming equipment totally wrong.
Like a tractor?
Yeah, he's wearing like, I don't know, the things that you put around your boots to make sure that you don't step into
Spurs.
stuff
Yeah,
like
yeah.
that. That's the extra one. Except he thinks they're like shoulder pads, so he's got them on his arms. It's just like ridiculous
These
stuff
like
like
spinny
that.
spur things. Yeah, hell yeah.
Yeah.
All right, that's fantastic. Speaking of spinning spurs, it's not working for you. Alex, you need to take over from here on out.
Yeah,
Please
sorry.
introduce Minnie.
I'm Alex. I'm playing Wilhelmina St. Clair, who is just really excited to be here, although marginally less excited about walking off into the desert alone with the Reverend after her experience with the snakes, which did feel a little bit like pageantry
Mhm.
and a little bit of showmanship rather than actual spooky magic. So very interested to see where that goes.
Mhm.
Very excited about going on an adventure, hoping my friends can keep track of me in a plane from above, because otherwise I'm maybe a little bit fucked, actually.
Maybe a little bit. Yeah, absolutely. Are there any clear preparations you're taking in the afternoon period?
Oh, just the one. I feel like a good night's sleep is paramount for
Mhm.
Minnie at this point, which, I've been getting a little bit of that sometimes, sort of, not really. I am going to make sure that I have a pocket full of little cosmetic mirrors, maybe 6 to 10 of them.
Okay.
Just tiny little ones, and basically going to gingerbread trail myself with something reflective if I can.
I think that's a great idea. Yeah. All right. Awesome. So,
And hopefully I'm not being taken out to be eaten. So,
I will refuse to comment. until such things are revealed. So, following the two services, you have the afternoon. The sun continues to beat down on the city or town and yourselves, and Minnie will quickly gather all of you to share the news that congratulations, you're off on the cult retreat. The plan, as the Reverend will share with you, is to meet before the sun rises on the edge of town. It will be yourself, the sheriff, the Reverend, and also what's his name? George Henson, who is the laborer, the sort of box-throwing gentleman who you've met previously and clearly has already been out on the retreat. The four of you will be going out. You will expect to walk all day, only arriving at when the sun is at its highest, and then you will walk all the way back as well. This is a very strenuous trip, but you are to bring no provisions, no food, no water, nothing. The Lord will provide for you, and you'll expect that once this is all resolved, you will be reborn in the likeness, or at least in the love of the Serpent. So you have some time to prepare. It's very clear that you are not to be followed. It's not directly said, but you take it that, you know, they've been fairly secret about things so far. So if anyone is seen tracking you, it probably won't go down well. And just for some context, marching out into the wild desert, there's a number of rolls just to see if you can make it without provisions, or else you will suffer, you know, heat stroke, dehydration, things like that. And for the other people's side, this is going to begin as a hard track roll just to follow the trail at all. And that's assuming that's assuming like basic planning and just going ahead. And if you're just following the trail, it's going to be an extreme stealth roll to see if you can mask your trail of all of you. Now, there's a few things you can do to mitigate that. You can not bring all of you. You can be one lone figure in the back. Bit easier to hide. You can roll even better on the track roll. You can get an extreme, and that might allow you to sort of hang back a little bit and not be seen as easily. You could intentionally hang back from the beginning, assuming that the track roll is not going to be as hard and relying on the stealth. Now, these are only single rolls, so it's not going to be everyone making this in the whole group. You can divide amongst yourselves and assist for bonus dice, things like that. But consider what you can do to, you know, move the odds in your favor or against them. You also did think the Peace Brothers might be stomping around out there. And the saloon has been kind of suggested as a place you're not to go to, so clearly would be cool to go to. So you might have some options of other areas you can look into. After dinner resolves, it is expected that everyone will go to bed, tuck themselves in, and not move for the night. But you can make some plans and as you see fit. I'll pass it over to the four of you.
I'm guessing if I sleight of hand successfully with my dropping my very reflective breadcrumbs, that could influence, that could give a bonus dice to the track roll. Potentially,
One thing you might want to consider is you may be searched to a minor level to make sure you aren't bringing water or anything. So maybe think about how you can hide those on your person. But yes.
Maybe rather than leaving breadcrumbs, we go for something that you could carry with you, something, you know, arguable, like I don't know, we get a metal cross or something. You know, this was my mother's or whatever, and you're going to be able to use it to kind of mirror signal,
like an oversized gold cross or something.
Yeah, like really something really ostentatious. And then I think just to sort of speak the vague things that we're going to try and do, we're going to have Lancet follow because Lancet is disguisable.
He's a bird.
Yes, exactly. They're pretty.
A bird.
It's true. As long as there's no ornithologists in the group, might be wondering why there's a Antipodean falcon in the middle of the desert.
Yeah, well,
if he's high enough up, he's gonna look like big ass eagle bird.
Yeah,
Just a bird. He a bird. It's fine.
And then we're gonna get you two, Lieutenant and Doctor, to fly along up high.
At a distance.
Yeah, basically. and keep an eye from above. I will be the one on the ground, and since there's only one of me, hopefully that makes it a bit better. And we're gonna that's our plan, basically. The one other thing I'll say is that we should get we should get it like a supply drop situation going on into the plane. Like literally prepare a couple of care packages of like water and snackies and things, so that we, if we have problems down below, we can literally drop them over the side.
Yeah, that is. I mean,
That's very
that
That's
makes
a good
sense.
idea.
If we'd already gotten supplies in the afternoon, is that something we could have
Yes.
organized at that point?
Yep, that's totally fine. Supplies are a gimme. Some light firearms are a gimme, given your price. Getting the horse is a gimme. I will probably get you to make a navigation roll, Carter, if you want to study over the maps to a great degree. And Minnie, if you want to try and procure some more detailed maps of the area.
Yep.
Library use.
Or even some information about landmarks that I can append to the map.
100%. I'm going to start the library use roll at hard, because this is not a super... enough to, get actual like information that will be useful to you is a bit limited. Okay.
Good to know.
Well done. So you have a more detailed map of the area. It will have been something from sort of much earlier settlers when they came through and they charted a number of landmarks and pieces. You can actually see a few sections where they found like caves that wind underneath the ground, and they believed them to be connected between distant locations, as the wind would hum along through them, and they had some superstitions attached to them that these were chambers straight to hell. So that's a bit of fun. There's a number of these moved around, but Lieutenant Carter, while sitting in over the night, can begin to plot courses from them. You have two pieces of information here. One, in theory, you will arrive there when the sun is at its highest, so about 8 hours trekking, dehydrated and stumbling through the hot desert. And the other is that the Reverend presumably first found these on his 40-day and 40-night travels. So you can kind of try and use those to some effect.
Well, if it's within an 8-hour trek, if they're leaving before sunup and they're getting there at midday, technically it's theoretically just shy of 8 hours, depending on what time the sun rises. But that, I'm happy to roll if you want me to roll, but I feel like Carter of all people would be like, this is how long it takes for a troop of men to march at a decent speed from point A to point B over flat terrain. This is how many miles per hour or whatever as in, I know that a walking speed of roughly takes you about a K, 10 minutes to walk a kilometer at a decent clip. So that would then give me a radius around the town of how far theoretically they could go without any kind of funny business. And then at least if we have the maximum radius and a direction they start to travel, well, that gives us an idea of a vague area to narrow down, a cone, if you will.
Yeah. You've got to, when you lose Minnie inevitably and panic and have to start guessing at places, you've got the kind of the radius where you think it is. There is a lot of blank space, and there's a lot of regions where they could go. This is also untrained, and this is a man led by God. This is a man who will follow the path set before him, and it may not necessarily be fully logical. This is also, all of those, that ability is represented in navigation skill. So it will be a navigation roll. Now, Hubert is actually, are you reasonably trained at this?
Sorry, I wasn't sure if that was question. I have some navigation that I can use, but I also have different plans. I think you should take this one.
Yeah. And you've got the base information. You can operate under all of that. It's you're not going to just go flying off into the far distance or in the wrong direction, obviously. But this is honing it in and trying to get a real edge, a tactical advantage here.
So I am trained to navigate. It's not the highest, but I'm happy to do it.
Awesome.
This is after dinner. We're back to our rooms, planning all this out.
Yeah, bits and pieces. Lieutenant's gone through it a bit during the day, but yes, you are all collected together in one of your rooms, making your plan at this point.
Scandalous.
It is a little.
What would the landlady think?
Not well of it. You've told her you're.
All right, sorry. So you want me to make a navigate roll?
Yes, please.
All right.
Told her you're playing Boggle. Okay.
Unless someone wants to help, that is a failure.
You have a look over.
I can help.
You wanted to set up the flying machine and everything.
I
right?
do, yeah.
And also you're working on the
would my-
magical cure to keep the lady's skin on.
It's
Would
true.
my
I
would
got
my
a bit on
library use roll
plate.
have helped? Would my ability to actually put some landmarks on the map have influenced how easy it would be to kind of figure out where we
Yes.
could get to?
Yes.
So would that possibly give out a bonus die?
Yes, that is a very fair point, and you do get succeed that hard roll. So yes, go ahead and add a bonus dice to that roll.
32 under 40, so that is a success.
That is going to be a success. Well done. With that, you are going to have enough of an edge to reduce either that track difficulty. Sorry, you are going to get a bonus dice on either the track or the stealth roll. You can choose which one you want to apply it to, but that's going to help you out a little bit. If it's stealth, you found, an avenue of corridors you'll be able to creep along, and you think will take you in the right direction. You'll see to pop up above ground every now and then to make sure you can see that you're going in the right direction. Alternatively, you might have a guess at where you think they might be traveling, and you can try and beat them to it.
Cool.
Awesome. Well done.
Can then. I will also flag, along with just having a rifle, because it's a thing that kills people.
Pretty sweet.
It's also scoped, which means that I can use it essentially as an aggressive form of binoculars.
Combat binoculars. Fetch binoculars.
I mean, I'm pretty sure combat binoculars probably exist as a thing, and quite possibly I will have picked up some binoculars if those exist and I can use them, or some kind of spyglass thing, but I do have a scoped rifle.
Yeah, hell yeah.
As like something that is slightly easier to hold on to and use.
Nope, that's great. Fantastic. Okay. Anything else you'd like to do before retiring for the evening?
I've got a little bit of a plan I'd like to just throw into motion quickly.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think that there's much of a chance of really in detail reverse engineering beyond what's already been done. Yeah, I'm not gonna throw out any more refinements here. What I would like to do though is I would like to have a word with the two friendly goons who have been following me around. I don't expect them to follow me into the desert, and frankly, if they did at this stage, they might cause more problems. So I'd like to explain to them that I will be desert bound, and I would like them. And I'll throw in a couple of extra bucks to make it worth their while, to basically go and do some kind of vaguely loud and irritating thing during the morning, in the one of the vague directions that might be chosen. So my idea here, the reverse goal that I want is when the Reverend is like, we shall set out, he like goes to go, and then sees that a mile out of town, kind of in the direction of his pilgrimage, there's a team is digging, and he's like, we don't want to encounter them because we're on a holy quest. So we'll just veer slightly around them, or we'll go this way. And just that way we can narrow down the cone even slightly more, because they're not going to run into where the blockage is.
Yeah, okay. I can dig it. I am probably going to need a persuasion roll to get them on side and to go and stomp around the desert for a while.
Yep. I make it clear that they don't actually have to work; they just have to look like it, and here's a little bit of extra cash, and you can't find a good drop of liquor in this town, but there's the lemonade or something. Real good lemonade.
Well done. Yeah, I mean, you basically tell them that you only need to go out there for an hour to work, right at set out, and then you have the day off. You can go and do whatever you want. So yes, that's probably enough to persuade the Butler brothers to bludge for a day. Come morning, they'll set out with a pair of shovels and just stomp around for a while, making a nuisance of themselves. Again, wide terrain, but, and the first section does take past farm yards and things, so they'll have to hoof out a bit. But they are also outsiders, and they are a little suspicious, so they probably will be avoided. It also sets them to a task, and they won't be following you as you go about your skullduggery.
Great.
All right.
Jackson, did you also have a thing?
I just want to say, Art wants to say something.
Thank you, Jackson.
Thank you. Two things.
Yeah.
One, Dave has now mentioned that drinking saloon in like the last 3 sessions. Like, yeah. I think we maybe need to go there.
Somebody needs to go there
before we head out into the desert, because
it's a Friday night.
No DM.
Something interesting is going to happen.
Here's the thing.
Yeah.
There's a thing you might want to check out. By the way, you haven't yet checked out this thing, and it's either going to be because it's useful or because we're going to get ourselves in a lot of trouble, and either way, I find that funny. The other one is I'd like to go to the general store and buy a penny whistle.
Yeah.
A penny whistle.
I think that's what they're called.
Yeah.
Just something that makes a very high-pitched sound when you blow in it.
Yeah.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, it's just a whistle.
Do you want whistles for the squad, or is this a single whistle? Whistle.
I'll grab... I guess I'll grab one for everyone.
Okay.
I apparently...
Not for
at
me.
some
They'll
point-
probably search me.
Well, see, here's the thing. Yes, for you.
Yeah.
And if it's small enough, it's because I think...
Yeah, just chuck it down my bra.
Or
Put it in your
could
boot
even...
or whatever.
Yeah.
If it kind of potentially, like, if they're... Because I think penny whistles are like the
The
cylindrical
little skinny ones, yeah.
Well, it's a. Oh, I'm thinking of a tin whistle.
Yeah,
Never
no, penny whistles are like the little skinny cylindrical ones.
Could look like some lipstick or something like that, which, if you're going to be taking cosmetics with you, gotta look good for the serpent, God.
Redo the lippy before you go into the dread
Regardless,
cave.
I'll get one for everyone because at worst, sound travels quite far.
Yeah.
And if we need an
They
emergency, then at least we've got something, and I'll give one to everyone and just explain, Hubert, if something happens and you need immediate assistance, this is it. Minnie, same thing. Sam and I are both going to have one, but technically we only really need one for the flying machine. but-
Unless the flying machine crashes and you get separated.
That too. Makes sense for everyone to have one, but essentially, yes.
Yeah.
It is this is your smash glass in case of emergency whistle.
Yeah, that's a great
You're
idea.
welcome.
I do want to add that I just got a spectacular image of Minnie with like cracked and bleeding lips from dehydration and exhaustion, flying lipstick. That's very odd, kind of. It's quite Cthulhu.
Yep.
You reach for the last item that will save you. You think it's the whistle. No, it actually was the lipstick. You brought the wrong one.
Yeah. Fuck shit. Oh well.
Yeah, it's a great idea.
And I will grab a very the largest, most reflectivist cross that I can find.
Okay, yeah, I love this. So, Lieutenant, when you go through the department store, you buy a couple of firearms, the rope,
I
canteens,
don't buy firearms.
provisions.
I have them.
The ones you wrote. Okay, fair enough.
Yeah.
And then a couple of whistles put on top.
I'll buy
and they're
some extra
vast whistles.
ammunition.
There you go. Yeah, perfect.
And then I know this doesn't really do anything, but just, best caution. Let's also just load Minnie up with like Gatorade and electrolytes before she leaves. I don't know. Like,
Well,
we
genuinely,
just
might as well have a big breakfast before
get
we
you
head
well
out.
fed.
Oh yeah, no, I'm gonna have a
Best
great
possible.
breakfast and no
Hubert,
coffee. I'm
Where
not gonna have
exactly are you
any
planning to find an alligator in the desert?
Oh, well, maybe not an alligator, but crocodiles have been known to crawl up onto dusty fields in order to. Sorry,
I don't think there's anything called crocodile aid. Last I checked.
you're right.
I feel like Minnie probably, as a professional occultist, probably has several just travels with a bunch of religious
You are a theologist. That's
amulets
your-
and ornaments. Like that's kind of her thing. So I probably do just have an
Walking
oversized
great
gold cross. Like, yeah, it's probably just a thing that I carry around.
Yeah, yeah. Again,
Like various religious.
it's
accoutrement.
so you can do the scene in The Mummy where Benny's going backwards and holds
Yeah,
up
pretty
each
much,
of the
like, okay,
implements.
okay.
This
Yeah.
one, this one.
Exactly.
Yeah, fantastic. Okay, so
Just
Yep.
in chat, RQ Staffen has pointed out that penny whistles were used both in the trenches and on naval vessels to issue
Oh, hell
commands
yeah.
over the
So
sound
you've probably got
artillery
one.
and I assume over distances on water. So
You may already.
I
have.
accidentally did a military thing.
well,
Which-
if you end up on a ship or in a trench, it'll work. In the desert, it won't. No, of course. Yeah. I also like the point Arky Staff made, which is that's why whistling was forbidden. That's why you couldn't have a little whistle while you work, because
So-
people
so
would start
the-
launching themselves over trenches and attacking
Whistling
the enemy.
is a lot of there's also like some like indigenous Australian mythology, like lore around like nighttime whistling and the attention that it will bring from a specific entity that
Yeah.
generally is protective, but if you whistle and draw attention to yourself,
Fucking hates
it'll
that.
fucking eat you.
Yeah.
It's me. It's me in the office with that one guy who whistles in the office all day.
Oh dear.
Bring in a penny
I-
whistle,
we have
send him over
time.
the trench. Yeah.
We have time. If we have time for one more tangent.
Yeah.
I just wanted to check
That's
on
a
the history of
banana
Gatorade, just in case, like it was a thing. Like Gatorade was invented in 1890 as a cure for syphilis.
It was like
We're
But-
incorrigible.
But no, it was invented in the 60s by the University of Florida for their sports
I
athletes.
did know this actually.
And believe it or not, the University of Florida's mascot
The Gators.
is a couple of alligators.
Yeah.
there you
There you
go.
go.
Please use your
There you
weird
go.
science pulp talent just to invent Gatorade early and then
I don't
just
see
get
why not.
jazzed on electrolytes every session. We
So
should get
what,
It was
sponsored.
a mix of
What was
water,
the
sodium, sugar, phosphate, and lemon juice.
Huh.
Oh, you put those together.
There you go.
As you're trying to invent this like skin sealing serum, you just accidentally invent Gatorade several times, just chucking it out the window. The subs is useless. All right, fantastic. So once night has fallen and you are herded out of the common area or out of your own rooms by Rosemary, whose suggestions get less and less subtle, that you should all go back to bed. You in particular, Minnie, she's, again, fairly fond of, and you will get several things of, like, you know, you have a big day tomorrow. It's crucial you get rest. The Lord watches over you,
Are we
and...
going to the saloon? Sorry, just like...
Well, you sure should not be
You
doing
guys
it
can?
in front of Rosemary.
Okay, go.
Yeah, I
you'll
feel like
get-
you guys can sneak out and go to the saloon. I should probably not.
You'll get herded
Yeah.
away,
I mean,
tucked
if
into
we're
your
sneaking
beds,
out,
and
I've been
where you're
tucked up.
expected to stay.
yeah, for a little bit of a sneak out.
Night has fallen.
You should.
Sam and I going on a reconnaissance mission for the first time in 15 years.
Why not? You know what? You only live once.
Okay.
Well, unless the snake gets you, in which case
I think we could
technically you sort of live twice.
I think we could smuggle Minnie out. Because then it's like, oh, you get caught by Rosemary.
No,
it's
no,
just
no.
like, oh,
No.
my friends, they're bad influences on me,
If I
Rosemary.
don't
They
sleep-
told me to go out.
I'm going to have to make like a shitload of Constitution and Constitution adjacent rolls immediately if I go out and don't sleep.
You were talking about getting drunk,
I could
though.
simply perish in hour 2. And then it doesn't matter. Bye, Jackson.
Whoa. He's
Hello.
back.
That was a small
Hi.
ghost.
I don't know what that was about.
Simply perished, I believe.
Yeah.
If I don't get a full night's sleep and have any penalties on those initial rolls, it could all be moot and I will simply die in the desert immediately.
Oh yeah, like I absolutely don't want to,
well.
carouse
So no,
while
I am not going to the saloon.
sleep, but
Okay.
an initial, because you said like the dinner is relatively early in the.
Mhm.
These are
boarding
bed by
house.
8 kind of folks, aren't they?
Absolutely. The sun's kind of still up.
Bless them.
You two go. I'm in the same boat as Minnie. I'm going to be on the ground, so I want to make sure I'm well rested.
Okay. All right. So as night's fallen, then
Are we doing this?
Probably let Dave finish his description before we like
No.
jump out a window.
I must. Dave, I
Since
jump out the
we've
window.
been
as
interrupted
the,
him, like,
as
many
as
times.
as the night falls and the shrapnel spreader wanders underneath each of your windows, setting up traps and laying bits caltrops and things.
We love you.
I don't know what to say. It's nighttime. What do you want to do? Time for bed. Go to sleep.
or sneaking out without mum and dad knowing.
You will hear it carried on the wind, the sound from the saloon of the, rowdy ne'er-do-wells having a bit of a romp. What'd you like to do?
We romp with them.
You romp with them? Good
We
grief.
romp wild and free.
Okay. Can I get stealth rolls from each of you to
Rumpus
sneak
and
out
ruin.
without mum and dad noticing? Go ahead and take a bonus
Damn it.
dice because you're on the first floor and, it's pretty reasonable.
I'll take the 2.
Yeah, well done. That's,
That's
an
a
extreme.
fumble.
Go ahead and roll that
Oh.
bonus die. If
But thank goodness for my bonus die. Regular failure. 37.
I think Carter's extreme. As you're getting to the window and you're
Extreme.
like falling around it, so
Do
you
they
can't get
catch
the
me?
window. Yeah.
Do they-
Yeah.
Do you
Well, you
not
said
have
we're
a
on, like-
buttload of luck?
We're
Like,
on
do
the
we not all
ground.
have just...
we're on the floor adjacent to the ground. We're not on the floor that is off the ground.
You're on the ground level.
You're on the ground floor, or the first floor if you're American. So I think maybe what happens is like I get out without too much issue, see that Sam is having trouble. Like has the window like fallen on you as you're halfway out, and now you're kind of like stuck?
Oh yeah, like I try to get out of the window, and I get out of the window. I mostly get out of the window, but one ankle gets left behind. One of those.
I very much. Did you say got it?
Help! Ankle.
I will.
I have to amputate it.
Jesus.
Bit of medical humor for you there.
Oh, bless your cotton socks. Come on, you. I will like grab sort of him around the waist, because I assume you're up near the window. I'll nudge the window up with my elbow and just pull you out in one motion. Because, you know, better make it look cool given that I got an extreme success.
Well done.
Fantastic. Okay. The two of you creep along the porch and then drop down and onto the street. There's still, again, like you said, it's a bed by 8, so there's still people around. It's not like late night. It's just, you know, most people are still like, oh, time for dinner now. It's been a long day. And so you can just walk pretty brazenly through the street.
I will,
and towards the
I'll make a show of smoking, so that, you know, at least while we're going for our walk, if there's any like, someone saw you, I'll be like, yeah, I stepped out to have a cigarette. I assumed you didn't do that in the room.
Yeah.
You know, and I didn't want to disturb anyone, so, you know. Or I can just always say, like, I left through the front door, no one saw me, no one was in there.
No,
Or I could just say I'm an adult and I can walk on the street at 9 o'clock on my own.
Do you really want to go head to head with a woman who eats flies?
She what? Oh, we did see that, didn't we?
Remember she eats flies.
Yeah, it wasn't right.
As much as, like, if it was just any old woman, I'd probably be like, yes, that's nice, dear. I have a gun. Go away. This woman eats flies. That's still like, yes, that's nice. Go away. I have a gun. But also, I may need to be a bit more forceful with the statement I have a gun. Yeah.
A point taken.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
So I will, make a show of smoking, just on the off chance anyone has anything to say about it. I
Give yourself a little
plausible
cover.
deniability.
You get to the station with the tracks laid before it, and as you head up along it and move to cross, just walking along the tracks, you can see the Deerhead Saloon is set in a fork in the road, which goes in two different directions. It is a squat single-story building, but it's sprawled wide, and it's clear that like annex has been built on the back. It looks like it was once a shearing shed or something. I know they don't have sheep in this area, but that kind of thing. Like they would have run stock, or maybe they're like, you know, sifted corn from grain or whatever. And it's been repurposed into this saloon. There's a bunch of like ornamentation of vaguely hunting themes all spread across the floor wall. And you can see a sort of like one of those neon fluoro tubes at the front of, and has the Deerhead Saloon written in large block letters, although it flickers occasionally. From inside, you can see yellow light filtered through the thick glass windows with dust and grime caked up around them. Gives the whole thing a sort of a almost like underwater glow as it has to filter through all this crap to get out. And as the door busts open at one point, it's still early in the morning, so people are only just getting started. Someone does sort of like stumble out a little bit and head towards one of their trucks parked nearby. A lot of the farmers of the region will come here for dinner or just to kind of get the latest on town. As the door does open and you take that opportunity to step inside, it's not filled to capacity. This place could accommodate the entire town if it needed to on like some of the tables and seats. Instead, there's more just people gathered in groups. It looks like there's like a couple of like, you know, farmhands and maybe a family parked in one section where they're talking amongst themselves. There's a few solitary people propped up against a large bar in one section, and off in a corner near an unlit fireplace, there's some older bloke, you know, strumming at some sort of stringed instrument, and filling the whole place with a sort of like, you know, a not particularly melodical tune. The bloke behind the bar is cleaning glasses, and you don't recognize any familiar faces at the moment. No one that you've seen in town seems to be attending.
Well, given that everyone in town seems rather enamored by the Reverend, and everyone who is seems to stay away from libations, it would make sense. So we wouldn't see too many familiar faces, at least at the moment. I'd like to keep an eye out for the Peace Brothers on the off chance that they arrive at some point while we're here. But and I suppose get a general vibe of the place. Is it relaxed? Is it resigned? Is there, you know, sort of any kind of anything underneath the surface? Just as like a less, I suppose it would technically be psychology.
I could see listen would be the other one to just do a little eavesdroppy. Yeah,
because it's less about like what is the vibe, or like what are individual people, like what's their demeanor, and more like what is the whole, the whole thing, the whole,
for sure,
everything.
Okay.
I mean, I'll get it. I'll make a vibe check.
Do you want to give me a psychology roll then, Dr. Sam? How long are you planning on staying here?
What are we doing here? We just.
I feel like this is a question for after we've made some rolls.
Well, how long are you planning on? Are you planning on like, hey, we're going to stay here for a while, or is this like we heard about this? Because when you first open it, there's nothing blatantly suspicious happening. It appears to just be. That said, it's reasonably early, and maybe give it a few hours till the night rush kicks in.
I mean, we established that Carter is the kind of person who goes to, at least in New York, slightly nicer speakeasies, and sits with a book, chatting to various people with a drink or two over the course of many hours. Like, this is just, honestly, they're probably looking for some home comfort kind of feeling at the moment. Everything's a bit stressful, so being able to technically do some reconnaissance, but also just get out and sit in a bar with people and maybe have just a tipple.
Yeah, 100%. Okay.
Listen.
Yes, please. Okay, well done.
We are professionals.
You are. So you head over and seat yourself at the bar, a place where people are going to have to go past you to get in and out the door. You can get a sense of things, close enough that you can eavesdrop on anyone talking with the bartender, which is where you might get, you know, some hot tidbits and things like that, and just generally see the comings and goings of the people that still frequent the Deerhead Saloon, even after it's been kind of cast in a dark light by so many of the others in the town. With that extreme success, sorry, and first of all, you're gonna park there for like an hour or so as people begin to trickle in, and it does get a little bit busier. With that extreme success on the listen roll, first you'll hear.
That was on the psychology.
Oh, sorry, other way around. Okay, then. With the extreme success on psychology roll, this place is.
That's me.
Most of the people here, again, people from like farms and further out, are just here for a drink from some libations, and do not seem to be wrapped up in the sort of the to and fro. However,
the out of towners aren't really into the town politics of the
that's
Reverend and whatnot.
There is a level of that. That said, there are several people among here though that are taking this as a place to complain. They kind of see this as, I guess, free of at least the Reverend's sight and you know, the people that might be eavesdropping for him. So there's a number of people complaining about the recent actions. You know, this town's changed so much. I don't like these new rituals. I've never been a huge fan of snakes. This is a little weird. And the bartender himself, a man named William Bass, is very on their side. This has basically killed his business, even when they're in a state of like financial devastation in the town itself. This has ruined him even further. So he won't really tolerate much religious talk, or especially not pro-reverend. He'll allow people to have their own private, you know, bless yous and things, but he's very anti-reverend. And you can get the sense that anyone here frequenting it from the town will be on that same side. He will also almost immediately speak with the two of you once you've come in to ask you, you know, given that you're out of towners, what are you doing here in the Bingham itself, and haven't you heard the news? This place is, you know, unwelcoming, hostile. It's not the sort of place that you'd come in for a kind drink. Surely you've heard what they're saying about us in town. You've heard the rumors that they're spreading.
Oh, you mean that this is a den of vice and iniquity?
That's right. A horrible place. Not the sort you'd like to frequent.
I don't know. Just sounds like New York.
And quite frankly, all I can see here is a bunch of people enjoying a meal and some people blowing off steam. That seems pretty normal for a for this kind of establishment. Forgive me, are you the publican?
I am. I run this saloon. I have since my father built it and I took it over.
I see. Well, my companion and I are here to both relax and blow off some steam while we're in town.
To be honest, our landlady, Rosemary, her review wasn't very complimentary, so we thought we better come based on her opinion of the place, if you know what I mean.
Quite.
Go the way the wind doesn't blow, I suppose. We've never seen eye to eye with Rosemary. She still holds some old school virtues, and ever since that Reverend returned and started spreading his own poison, they've turned the whole town against us. Everything we do here is legal. People are allowed to drink. People are allowed to share their own opinions freely. I think that should be stopped, and since I don't stop it, they seem to hate it.
I don't really understand why people think that silencing opposition is the correct way to go about living in a world full of people. I mean, unless the opinions held are dangerous, then each to their own, I say. But, we've heard a fair amount of the town, obviously, from our proprietor. And while a lot of it is glowing, it tends to be glowing in a specific direction. I would be curious to hear from someone who doesn't hold the same views, or doesn't necessarily see eye to eye on the nature of the town. Just its history. We're here for a short time, we're interested, and I don't have anything better to do this evening than learn about a town. And have a drink with, hopefully, very nice company.
Can you give me a charm roll, or I'd actually fast talk as well to kind of get on the right side?
I'm telling them not lying.
No, you're not.
I would prefer charm if I'm allowed to take charm.
Absolutely. I think it's absolutely principally charm.
I don't know that I have succeeded a charm roll this campaign. Aries or an intimidate. Somehow I just shoot things and that works out for me.
And your pulp archetype again is
femme fatale. Yeah.
Okay.
Oh yeah, you'd think I would be better at this, but apparently the dice hate me.
Sometimes. It's just the way things go. So you'll sit and talk with William for a little while as he serves customers, and people do begin to flood in as he's talking. You've succeeded at listen roll, so you're keeping an ear out, and you will begin to spot a couple of locals coming inside, those that you recognize. First, you'll see, where's his name? Hilliard Fowler, who actually you haven't met previously, but he'll be identified by the barkeep when he points him to like a regular seat and just goes to pour him a drink. And Hilliard, who is the owner of the lumber yard and a known drunk and basically
we've heard about him,
disagreeable sort, sits himself down and waves away the drink aggressively and says, "No, not tonight. I'm working soon and I can't. I need a clear head and maybe just one, and they pour it, and he begins to sip it, and he
is this a voice I recognize?
Very quickly.
Because I do vaguely recall that our sleep on our first night was interrupted by someone yelling quite loudly about how much they disliked certain aspects of this town.
It was, and I'll need to identify it as the voice of Mr. Fowler. he sees himself in. You'll also at one point spot the two women that work in the department store. Enid and Ephraim is the other assistant, coming inside after their shift and seating themselves down to talk and have a drink. They actually don't notice you. Oh no, you're fairly keenly seated. In that case, they probably will wave at you as they come inside, and you'll actually see that they are joined not too long after by Susie Schoenbaum, who is the daughter of the blacksmith. So it's the two department store attendants and the blacksmith's daughter, all seated in a corner, having a drink and talking in hushed tones. But as you talk to...
I will smile in the direction of Enid, given that that is the person that I have interacted with before. Probably wink.
Yeah. She, at the wink, will sort of like go to smile, awkwardly turn it into a look around the room, look back at you too late, and join the others at the table throughout their conversation. You'll see them occasionally looking over at you. And when Susie and Ephraim catch this, they'll both swing around clearly in their chairs, stare at the two of you, and at one point you'll probably be invited to join them. But before we get to that, the barkeep does talk to you a bit, just as people are flowing in. And he says, we used to work in concert with the town. We used to be tolerated by some, but enjoyed by many as well. Even the Reverend on occasion would come in. He wouldn't drink, but he'd meet with folks here. He was a local. He was a good man. Ever since he went out on that voyage of his, he's returned changed. They say he's got some healer's touch, but truth told, I know it's the devil in him, and what he's done is sick. It's wrong. You should see what he did to Peggy Shaw. That's the young man who works the station's wife. She was struggling with childbirth, and what he drew from her, what that man's now forced to raise, that ain't human. That's not a babe. That's some monster. And now it lives in town. And it's young now. And as I understand it, it still feeds from its mother, but give it time, that thing will be hunting us as well. It's sinful work.
Well, I understand this is sensitive, so please tell me if I am stepping over any lines, but could you be a bit more specific? When you say monstrous, what do you actually mean by that? Is it simply a young child that has unfortunately been deformed in some way, or is it more than that?
I ain't seen the kid myself, but to hear Gregory speak of it, when he's deep in his cups, things scaled like a lizard, clawed like some kind of dragon, and his wife doesn't tend to him anymore, doesn't even look at him because she's so obsessed with the child and with the next brood. She's pregnant again, faster than she ever should have been. Kid was only born 2 weeks ago, and she's swollen fit to burst.
Oh,
Something dark's happening. Something deeply wrong.
it's unusual.
Unusual is the least of it.
My friend,
And at this
my
point,
companion here is a man of medicine, so
he kind of at this point Fowler has gone through like 2 drinks and is raised his hand for another, so the bartender needs to go and attend to him. But as he's stepping away, he'll say, look, I understand you doctors got degrees and understandings, but it ain't science here. Faith, religion, cursed. And he heads off towards the others to help them.
love a couple of nouns,
You know,
to end a sentence.
fucked.
Yeah. Do you know adjectives? I don't know.
Well, sounds like I might have a bit more work to do if we're sticking around here much longer. If the Reverend's been practicing his own form of medicine and that many people, wouldn't mind checking in on all of them if I can before we leave.
I think that's a worthwhile goal, Sam. Our number one priority, of course, needs to be the safety of Miss Sinclair, but assuming that all goes according to plan, we're able to locate this thing, I'm not sure that it would make the most sense to disrupt potentially what's... If we want a good idea of what this thing is, I think being able to look at it when there's no one else around is going to be our better option. Of course, I don't want Miss Sinclair to be in any danger. I do have faith that she is able to handle herself, and quite possibly, should the need arise, refuse whatever gift is being offered, but just in case, I want to make sure we're nearby. However, I don't know that stumbling into whatever this is with a bunch of people who know more about it than us is a good idea. Regardless, more to your point, unless something horrendous happens, which there's always a chance, there may in fact be a time enough for us to look at the town in more detail whilst also doing some reconnaissance on this location once we know exactly where it is.
I will say that at this point it's been late enough that you are going to beginning to be, you will be exhausted come early morning. If you wish to remain and talk with others, you can, but you are risking your tired nature come the morrow. What would you like to do?
I think there is no point in making tomorrow harder than it needs to be. We've at least shown our faces here, meaning that if we need to come back and speak to people, if we have an opportunity to do so, we're in a good position to do so. But I will ensure the round of drinks is bought for the ladies at the table.
Okay. Perfect. So as you turn and head back out towards the cooler night, you can buy a drink for the women at the table, and they will, having asked you if you like to sit, and you say no, we've got business to attend to tomorrow, one of them will it's Ephraim actually, smile, not sinisterly, but a little bit, it's not a super pleasant looking grin, and say, yes, we understand your friend is to be accompanying the Reverend tomorrow. Be careful, and to tell the truth, I consider asking her not to go. And Enid will just say, we'll be here tomorrow night as well. If everything goes well, and do join us for a drink.
We would be absolutely delighted, and thank you for warning. You are most kind.
You buy them a round of drinks and slip back out into the night. It's now a quieter town, and you can walk along the streets until you return to the hotel, and slipping back in the way you came, as far as you're aware, the owners of the hotel will be none the wiser. Unless there's anything else you want to do, you can head off to sleep.
Yes, I mean, I don't want to be suffering the effects of extreme exhaustion while we're trying to track down someone, so sleep, please.
Okay, perfect.
How are we going to get enough sleep that we're a little foggy but okay early morning, or are we?
Yeah, it's not going to be mechanically impactful. It's going to be like a bit tired and slam some espresso, but yeah, you'll be up and away.
It'll be fine.
Yeah. Okay.
I mean, also depending on the fact that we were going to set off a little bit behind everyone else anyway, if we're sending Lancet off at least to keep an eye on things, we can be a little bit more delayed, because there's no point in kicking up the machine and going straight after them, otherwise we'll be seen. So.
Yeah.
That's right. Or heard. That's my main concern now.
The last thing...
We have established your machine's relatively...
Yeah, I can go up high and then cut the engine and glide for a bit if need be.
Yeah. The last thing I need is Minnie to please make a power roll.
I was hoping we'd get to this.
Yeah.
Shut.
I just keep. I'm not failed. I failed one of these.
Minnie, do you think you have some... I tell you what. You know it's a dream at this point because you've been through these before, and you've begun to recognize the signs, the drifting writing and the strange memories that come and go, the change in scenes that seem to be sudden but to make sense as they occur. In this one, you are jammed inside a cupboard or something, It's as if you were a child playing hide or seek, and there's heavy coats all around it, like your parents' or grandfather's, thick, musty jackets. As you reach up to open the handle, it's stuck and it won't budge. And then when something above falls on you, it begins to smother your face, and you struggle to breathe as you draw in short, shallow gasps. Do you think this might be a true memory of Minnie's? Is there an occasion when you might have been trapped inside a small, confined space, or is this just the dream playing tricks?
Minnie was definitely the kind of child who got into things that she absolutely should not have, so I'd say it's probably a true memory for her.
Okay. Clutching the item that you might have sort of like pinched from your parents' bedside, you know, like the Bible that you grabbed because you wanted to study it closer, or, you know, that book that you were told was much too old for you and you thought you'd sneak in here and under candlelight study it. Now you find you can't get out and you sort of, you know, getting more and more anxious. You suddenly kick open the door, and as it bursts away, a cold rush of wind floods across you. And when you stumble out, you're in a very thin, rocky passage, and you can see it winds up in one direction, ascending up towards some hopeful light. Behind you, the wardrobe's gone, and there is just a stone flat wall. The only way you'll be able to squeeze through these is if you pull your body between sharp rocks, twist your limbs into impossible shapes, and heave yourself further and further up towards the light. You can hear from that distant place a harsh, hissing whisper that beckons you forward, offers you power, and promises you safety if only you can make the ascent by pulling yourself forward on bloody nails.
I'm aware this is a dream, correct?
You are.
Can I kind of try and access that that feeling that I had with the cat under the bed, and just looking up at the sharp rocks, hearing the hissing, offers of power, and just no, thank you, and sidestep into potentially the Reverend's dream.
Yeah, you've got a little bit of control here, and you rolled an extreme power, extreme success on that power roll. You don't have the cat to guide you, but you look around for an edge, a gap, a seam somewhere that you can slide inside, contort, and drop into another's dream. You find one, and shimmying down, you leave the hissing voice behind and fall into a sort of a dark but almost comfortable void. As you begin to plummet for a time, you can feel yourself suddenly rolling along an invisible bank, splash into a stream you can't see, and as the bubbles escape your mouth and drift upwards, your toes drop into some warm light, and as you lower, you can see yourself falling into another person's dream. Can you please make a luck roll?
No,
Okay.
I can't.
We're
gonna roll it.
83.
I know.
Hubert,
Oops.
what are you dreaming of right now?
Oh God.
Whoopsie. I did a whoopsie.
Please tell me it's got something to do with hamsters.
I'm thinking of a serious answer. I think it's probably. I think Herbert is a very, very, very nervous man in general. Yeah. So I think it's probably exactly what you might expect. The sort of like funny, you know, he's in New York at a dinner party or something like that. But then behind the counter, there are a bunch of Serpent people, and whenever people go up for a drink, they put out their arms, and the Serpent people lean down and start feeding from them. Yeah. And the dream is Herbert's trying to entertain a bunch of socialites, and he knows he's going to have to go up for a drink, and he really doesn't want to, and he's trying to like find a way to avoid having to go and present his arm to a bunch of serpents.
And one by one, each guest leaves your table until there's no one there. You realize you have to step up and get a drink when someone who seems vaguely familiar to you in some strange way walks up towards your table. Minnie, you are aware that Hubert will probably not fully understand this come morning, but you are conscious. You are aware it's a dream, and you are aware you are in Hubert's.
Oh, this isn't a lot of fun, is it, buddy?
I love it here. It's great. What
say we blow this joint and go to the cocktail bar go to the speakeasy down the street, huh?
Oh, okay. That That sounds fine. Yeah, yes.
Yeah.
Let's do that. I'm gonna get blood on my suit if I do. All right, let's go.
Absolutely. You don't want to ruin a lovely suit like that. And there's definitely no lizards at the one down the road. So yeah, let's make a move.
Okay.
But
But just for the
these
record,
socialites, they don't like. They're not worth pleasing anyway.
Yes. Let's go.
You link arms with Hubert and lead him
You head
just away from the lizards,
you turn
away
around
from the dream lizards.
and you go up the set of stairs leading towards the door that's far too long away. And with each step, you have to kind of not fully drag Hubert, but there is a sense of pulling something from somewhere it's supposed to be and into something else. As you get towards the door, Hubert's beginning to not fully resist, but his mind is like shaking. He's like blinking, and each time he does that, the dream shifts around you a little bit, so that all the way you've came, the native place, that saloon, is only a few steps behind, and you can hear the drinking and the singing and the quiet conversation. But eventually you do come to the door, and as you attempt to open it, where is it that you might wish to go, Minnie?
I think I'd like to take Hubert. Do I get the impression that it has to be somebody's dream, or are we thoroughly within Hubert's dream now?
So,
and spatial changes are within the same dream.
Can you give me... You have a dream lore skill. Can you please roll that for me?
I do.
You do.
It's very low. But let's find out. Hang on. No, it's not going to auto-roll it for me.
Doesn't want to behave.
That's right.
Just let us know what this...
Oh, there it goes.
Oh.
Yeah, no, it's just delayed. No, that's definitely a fail.
Okay.
Oh,
You are
I
aware...
can confirm.
So far, the only places you've been have either been in people's dreams or slightly strange liminal spaces between them. When you slipped through the cracks and fell down that invisible hill, and when you walked through that corridor the previous time, those appeared to be the something that exists outside the dream. You don't know exactly what that is or what's happening there. You're not sure how safe it is.
I'm going to stop trying to open the door, and I'm just going to turn to him and say, looks like we're here for the long haul. But do you know what? I think you could probably do with a bit of a nap, don't you? And just a bit of a shut eye, and maybe just, hide out here for a second. And I think there'll be a change of shift on the bartender soon enough, right? And if you could just, maybe get a little bit of shut eye.
That does sound good.
Away from the party and away from prying eyes.
I might go for a sit down. Yeah.
Yeah. And when you go to sleep in a dream, you often wake up. I don't know.
Yeah.
I will trot over back to the table that we had. I think I pull out a briefcase that was next to me the whole time. Looks like it has important business documents in it. Open it up, and it's got a nightcap and a glass of milk. And I sit there and drink, and I can slowly fall asleep.
Okay, perfect.
Right. Onward, and I'll try and go through the door now that it's just me on my own.
Yeah, you get towards the door, and as you reach out to it, the edges are beginning to sort of blur as if your focus is losing. And you kind of have a section where you actually think you might have skipped a few seconds there. By the time Hubert sat down, there might have been another conversation, but it's already beginning to slip from your mind. As you reach towards the door and haul it open, is there anywhere you are attempting to target? Is there somewhere you'd wish to go?
Once again, I wouldn't mind seeing what's in the reference head.
Okay, at this point, I am going to ask you to make a power roll. Okay. Can you please now give me a luck roll as you open the door and continuing to have some sense of self, you step through.
Thank you.
You open the door, and this time there's no sense of that liminal space, that in between. You step straight through and emerge into a vast blankness. It's like the desert, except it's as if it's been turned to like dark crystal glass, a sort of an obsidian reflection with white cracks running all through it and branching in different spaces. As you look down at yourself, you'll see 3 mirrors of you all spread out in different ways, and it's as if they're branches of, you know, choices you could have made earlier in life. There's one where perhaps you'd wanted to follow some different career. There's one where you'd thrown yourself, like, you know, in a dedication towards physical activity, and you're in, you know, fine form. There are all these different sort of opportunities that Minnie may have had, and as they branch out, they hit another crack, splinter again, but you can see as they're moving around, they spread out to each side, and then they appear to almost be coalescing back together in the distance, where you can see a stone slab laid flat along the ground, and there is something laying across it. The sky is a similar blackness, and there is a single white sun high in the sky that burns down less like a distant celestial body and more like a spotlight that picks up 2 figures now on the stage, yourself and the slab in the distance. There's no clear sign of the
like
Reverend.
where I want it to be. Oh, this doesn't feel right at all. Oh well, and I'll start heading towards the slab.
You begin to walk towards it, and with each step, you can hear the ground underneath sort of like cracking as if you're walking on shallow ice. Each branch again causing different variations of Minnie to splinter and crack in different ways. And as you finally get towards the slab, you can see that there is a figure laid across it, and it does look similar to the Reverend that you've seen before. The difference is this one is completely naked, and where his belly button is in the center, it's as if someone's squeezed fingers into it and then stretched it apart like clay, pulling a huge, like, wrinkly hole gaping open, and inside it you can see curled up there is a translucent egg, or an egg sac more, like might be inside a person, and a fetus is curled inside it. And as you're looking down, it goes...
No, thank you.
The spotlights have caught each other now, and there's only one. And you can just make out, underneath all of it, this hissing sound that is beginning to grow and get stronger.
Okay. Well, this is deeply horrible.
Again, no sign of the Reverend beyond this corpse lying on the ground, and perhaps the beating fetus.
Does the fetus inside look human or is it more reptilian in nature?
It looks human, although there is no umbilical cord to connect it to anything else, and it's almost as if it was an egg placed inside this cavity.
Right.
The hissing gets stronger, louder, and you begin to understand something to be narcal being fed directly into your brain. Could you make a narcal roll for me, please?
No, not today.
You don't know what it is.
But it's getting louder, and I've been here before, and I know how it goes. I would like to try and wake from the dream.
The problem is, when you were in Hubert's dream, the fading, it began to fade. Here, things are becoming clearer and almost more real. Looking at this thing now, you can begin to see pores and hairs underneath it. You can feel your own cold breath in this environment. And as you look around for a seam, something to slip inside, there is none present except for the cavity in the center of the body. And if you could crawl inside that, squeeze beneath that egg sac pulsing underneath, and push yourself to the edge, you might be able to slip away.
Well, you said there was no umbilical cord, nothing attached. It was like it had just been placed in there.
That's right.
You yeet the egg.
Okay. You reach inside and pick it up.
I'm not slithering past an egg. Jesus Christ.
As you do, I am going to ask you to make a power roll.
One day I'll fail one of these. Not today.
Oh my god.
Ooh. That's not bad. Is that 2 extremes in a row?
That is, and you feel an extreme attachment to it for a moment. There is a desire to protect it, and to almost to cradle it, to hold it to yourself, and then you're able to sort of like resent it, and you realize it was that whispering. It was the voice inside your head, and for a moment there was very much a sense of care for this, raise this, release it into the world, and then protect it as your own. But you're able to shut up. That's not your voice. You take this thing and what do? Just fucking spike it? Yeah, and you slam it down into the ground, and as it splatters, it crosses the cracks, and where there were all those minis branching, you see this thing spread, and all the different possibilities of it, and they are all the Reverend, and they are all dead. It's him with like a gunshot through the head. It's one of him burning at a stake. There's one where he's been crushed under falling lumber. And there's one where he has been like riddled with disease, boils, and he now lies with his tongue swollen and frothing blood pouring from it, dead in every vision. But the cavity is open and you can squeeze yourself inside.
Oh. I hate this. No, climb in.
Okay, you climb in and begin to push yourself through. It's not warm or wet, and you'll quickly find that same liminal space. And with that extreme power roll, I won't ask you to roll again. You push yourself through, and you have an unnerving control over this environment and of the dream. You're beginning to understand it more and more. And as you push yourself through and emerge out the other side, you wake with a start, drenched in cold sweat, in the Bingham Hotel. And I'm going to ask you first to make a sanity roll, and second, to improve your dream lore by 1d6.
Ooh.
I'm going to give you 1 point, Minnie, for what you've seen. But go ahead and improve your dream lore as well, as you are beginning to explore this terrain and get a real feel for how it may work. You've actually woken and you realize now it's the drumming on the door that woke you, and it's Rosemary saying, "Minnie dear, you must get up and get ready. We'll want to be leaving soon. We'll meet the Reverend on the edge of town."
Okay.
All of the dream stays in your mind, as if you were actually there and these were the past night's events.
Okay. Yeah, sure. That's good. That's good and fine. I'll get up and start to get ready.
Okay.
And I will, but I'll also scroll a real quick note to the others in my shorthand, which they can decipher, or a version of my shorthand that is decipherable by others who know me. That is basically says, I think the Reverend has been infected by a kind of parasite that is demanding his love and care, but will eventually kill him. And the whole town may be at risk or something. If that's what I can parse from the dream.
I'll do one better even. If unless the others don't wish it, Rosemary's you are the friends of Minnie, and while you're not to go on the journey, she's happy to walk with all of you to the edge of town to see Minnie off. So unless any of you don't want to be included, I was going to say, when you come out to the breakfast, which has been like, the same again, you laid out so that you can, nourish yourself for the forthgoing. The other three are seated around it, having been woken already, and you're the farewell party. So she wants you up and say goodbye. Dr. Sam and Lieutenant Carter look a little sleepier than normal. But as you talk, Rosemary will at one point head off to get you final things. And the four of you can talk briefly before you will then walk to the edge of town. And from here on out, Rosemary or the Reverend, others will be around. This is your last chance to make any preparations.
I will very quickly relay the contents of the last dream, and just I think it means that there is something here that is infecting people and demanding love from people, and it's going. I think it's in the Reverend, and it's going to kill him eventually.
It was, at least in some capacity, though, serpentine, wasn't it?
Yes, yeah.
This could be an aspect of the serpent people that we don't entirely understand yet. Maybe what we're getting here is we're getting more insight into how exactly they operate. This could be very important.
Also, it was a dream, so it could be quite metaphorical, but I think the underlying meaning...
I'm starting to think, Miss Sinclair, that your dreams are a little bit more than metaphors.
Well, yes.
You said that the Reverend was on a slab, and appeared to
a
be
slab, an
corpse.
altar, was a corpse. Yeah, they're dead.
Well then, is there a possibility this man is already dead?
A possibility, yes.
There are...
It's happened before. We've seen it.
not in the sense of the skin-wearing sort of dead.
Yes.
Familiar with the cordyceps fungus or
Yes,
various
exactly.
forms of wasps that will lay their eggs in living beings, and then as that thing with the cordyceps, it manages to control the mind at least for a while, and burst out of the top of the skull.
Yes,
Ants,
the skin thing in another way.
He's like the skeleton man from comic books.
Possibly. Conversation for another time. The wasps, on the other hand, they don't necessarily control the creatures, but it tends to be that they will lay their eggs into caterpillars, and during the metamorphosis from caterpillar to butterfly, a wasp comes out the other side instead. It's a rather unpleasant process, from what I understand.
That's what I mean. A parasite that is.
Yes.
But there was briefly a very overwhelming sense that I needed to love this thing and care for it. I mean, of course, I have the kind of maternal instinct that has turned inside out upon itself. So I was able to shake that off quite quickly. But it was overwhelming for just a moment.
Did you get a sense of how long we've got until,
Nope.
anything's likely to come bursting out of anyone?
Nope. If anything is squiffier than squiffy in dreams, it is time.
Well,
I mean, we already potentially know of one creature that may have been brought into this world.
And another one on the way, right?
Yes, there is, and we'll relay what we found out last night to these two as well.
Well, that sounds adjacent, doesn't it?
if this is a parasite situation, it sounds like the Reverend is spreading it.
Yes, he takes people into the desert. They get infected with this parasite. I assume the parasite has some beneficial qualities to keep its hosts alive until it has such an opportunity to leave them, which would make sense why our good George Henson is able to keep himself strong and hardy and hale, and the barber's assistant is able to eat without becoming horrendously ill, and so on and so forth.
Unless it's literally more than that. Unless it's literally that there's a parasite inside them,
That's what I mean, yes.
They've already been...
They've been infected with a parasite. That parasite is giving them...
giving
them some beneficial capabilities to keep them alive, because they are feeding off the host, and then when they are done feeding off the host, they will devour them or destroy them or do whatever and emerge fully formed. I do wonder, we are making a massive assumption as well that Narcal is only spoken by one specific group of entities, in the same way that English is spoken by many different kinds of humans.
Not necessarily.
That
it could be a completely different group of people, yes.
Could, in fact, not be the snake, the serpent people, as Minnie.
Yes, it could be anybody.
We don't know enough about, whatever these are. And other entities like them. So I do think it's reasonable to work on the assumption that we might be dealing with something very familiar, but not worth assuming that we're dealing with something identical.
Regardless, I think our plan remains the same.
Yes.
This was good information to get from the two of you at the saloon. Excellent, and well done, Minnie. Your dreams are very useful. I just dreamt I was at a bar with all my friends, so far less important.
Oh, good. Lovely dream.
Yeah, very good. Party,
good, great.
All relaxed and nice.
Oh, good.
We should get moving. Get ready.
Time, yeah.
Let's do this, and let's just be ready for a parasitic warfare, I suppose.
I suppose. At least I know now what it is that I'm going to be offered, and therefore will be refusing.
Miss Sinclair.
Yes.
If you're not given the opportunity to refuse.
There's going to be harm.
Do make an awful lot of noise.
Yes. I'll guarantee it.
If there's a possibility of us finding out
trust
this
me.
location without giving away what we're doing, preferable. But if not, your safety is paramount, and I will burn every bridge in this place to ensure it.
Oh, thank you. Because there is no way I'm having one of that. No, thank you. Absolutely not. Refuse. I have crushed one of them, admittedly in a dream, and I'll do it again.
Good plan.
Practice
Dan,
run.
does this information help you at all with potentially working out what's happened to these people? I know originally we mentioned curses, but...
But, well, I mean, a parasite I've got a little bit more information about than curses. I have to tell you that. Yeah. Look, I mean, the thing with parasites is if you can get them out, then it does you a lot of good. A lot easier to get out than virus and bacteria, I reckon.
Good. Well then.
Okay.
In that case, let's go snake shooting, shall we?
At this point, Rosemary returns with, I guess, no provisions provided for you because you're not to take them. So she just comes back in and says, "We best be going, Minnie. The sun's about to come up." And she turns to all of you and
yes,
says,
thank you.
"I trust
Miss
you'll all be
Adams.
coming with us to farewell your friend."
Yes, just because I have a deep and unabiding concern for my companion, is it reasonable that we might bring some water with us to the edge of the desert and allow Miss Sinclair to drink before she sets off?
It won't be needed. Lord will provide for her, and the Reverend will be with her the entire time. This is something he's done before. Trust me. Minnie, as I understand it, you will be taken to the brink, but you will endure such bliss. You will come back to us new, whole, reborn, and you won't suffer those nightmares anymore.
Suppressing an eye twitch.
Just double checking. Did Rosemary also go on one of these pilgrimages?
She has
or
not, no.
No.
Okay.
But she has been healed at some point. She has
Private audience.
felt the reverence.
And that
touch,
was
yeah.
the same as Pearl. Was it Pearl? The blacksmith's wife has been healed but hasn't gone on a journey.
That's
yet.
right. That's right.
So there is a chance then what we're dealing with is a healing that is in some way, shape, or form a curse that makes people want to go on this journey, and then when they go, because their
Possibly.
cure isn't perfect, when they go, that it's sort of like
Yeah.
again a sleight of hand. I'm going to do something nasty to you so that it encourages you to go do this thing.
It might be a
Even though, like,
minor degree of infection.
Yeah, and then continue. Yes, so that curse aspect may not be linked to a parasite specifically. That might be more like something that the Reverend does to encourage people to
Does on
go,
his own.
and then the people who've actually gone are the ones that are infected, but we don't know.
Or it could be a minor version of it. Other
All
than the
this
whole egg
shared
thing.
with a glance.
This is players going,
I know.
the fuck is going on?
Yeah. This is players being
During
suspicious.
the conversation, I will walk over and I will cover her ears with my hand. So
Oh, yes. Okay, good.
Ow!
Not suspicious at all.
With that, Rosemary takes your hand, Minnie, and will begin to lead you out towards the edge of town. The expectation will be everyone follows. That said, if you want to go and like get the flying machine into gear or fetch the horses or prepare to leave, like you don't all need to come. And because
That's probably what I'd be inclined to do.
Yeah, I'm also. I want to. I don't want to have to. If I lose the trail, it's going to be bad. So I'm going to go get the horse.
okay, Lieutenant Carter, are you coming to stay? And
I feel like at least somebody should come so they know which part of town we're leaving from.
Yes.
Like to right at the edge and can visualize what direction we're walking in.
Yeah, I think because I've also was the one that made the navigate roll and
Yes.
have sort of the best idea of what might be going on. Jackson, you're not planning on taking Sam up into the aircraft immediately. Like, I have time to come and join you after that fact. But you're sending
by all
Lancet off?
means. Well, Lance is going to follow the group close behind, and then the flying machine's going to be a bit further behind that.
In that case, I'll go with Minnie to the edge of the desert to get a beeline, and then we can use that as a starting point because we're not going to want to be in visible range of them, or at least like visible range without aggressive binoculars.
okay.
Fight Binoc.
So once you're out on the porch, Dr. Sam and Mr. Smith make their excuses and head elsewhere into town. The other three of you, Rosemary, Lieutenant Carter, and Minnie, walk in the early morning. The cooler early morning as the sun just begins to reach over the distant plain. Rosemary
I get the
keeps...
overwhelming sense.
No, go ahead.
This little parade of a small number of people in the early hours of the morning. I'm not going to say anything, but in the back of Carter's mind, it feels an awful lot like an execution.
Fuck yes. Rosemary holds Minnie's hand the entire way as you're going and gives it sort of like a comforting squeeze at various points, although how comforting it is very much depends on the receiver. Minnie, how have you dressed? Have you dressed for like practical stomping around, or have you dressed for like creepy cult, like you're wearing the white dress and you're like, I am prepared to be reborn?
I'm practical. I've been told many times this is going to be challenging, and no, it's hiking boots and trousers. Thank you very much.
Okay. As you're going, Rosemary will, as you're going, like she fusses over you a little bit. At one point, she will go to let your hair down. She goes like, "You should let your hair down, Minnie. You should."
Absolutely not. No, thank you. It'll go sweaty and disgusting against the back of my neck, and it will look terrible. Honestly, it won't be the effect you're imagining. I promise you. As soon as I start sweating onto it, it'll curl up and frizz out, and it'll be extremely unladylike and horrible.
She kind of like, she goes, of course, it's your journey. You get the clear sense she wishes this was her going, and she also has this like picture perfect way that it would go. Yeah. You're getting the vibe of it correctly.
I'll kind of squeeze her hand and just, and you know, you've been so helpful and so wonderful to me. Of course, I will tell the Reverend all about it. And you know, I'm surprised that you haven't been taken on this pilgrimage yourself. No, absolutely. I couldn't. I'll have to tell him that.
Thank you, and you're so brave, especially after, well, your friends can't even come to see you off. You can surround yourself with better people, Minnie, and I hope that in the church you will find that. I hope in the Reverend's embrace you will find that you have friends here, and you could have family.
In the back of my mind, I'm gonna punch this bitch in the nose.
Carter,
you squeeze hand.
It's quiet, but you hear all of this.
Yes. Hi.
If you wish for a more elegant updo for the occasion, I can probably arrange something.
Oh, yes, that would be magnificent.
So you got something very shiny. I did. A cross. Did it come on like a silver chain, like a shiny silver? Like, great. I'm gonna take that. Your hair's like long-ish.
Yeah, it's kind of medium length, and yeah.
So I'm going to take the chain and I'm going to braid it. So I'm going to take, I don't know if anyone knows what a Juliet hairstyle is.
Yeah.
Take sides attached to the back, but I'm going to then move that into like a relatively simple braid so that it looks kind of like you've got a sort of...
almost like a tiara sort of thing.
Yeah, tiara, like a... is it a coronet?
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, so it's sort of twisted around in that... braided.
Now I've got something shiny on my head.
Yes. So both it looks like a coronet kind of like presentational thing, but also you got something fucking shiny on your head.
I got something shiny on my head.
And it is still, it's braided, so it'll stay like off. It'll keep the heat off, but it is down in the sense that it sort of looks much more
elegant than just a...
Yeah, it looks ceremonial.
That I normally, because I normally just put it under, like tuck it under, and
very much think the sort of medieval style where they would like twist leather, like colored leather into their hair,
that's
or like the nets and things. This is art from having hair way back, remembering what you can do with it. But yes, shiny shit in hair also hopefully fits the lie.
No, it's a great idea.
We're selling.
You step back and it's all been set into place. And Rosemary nods, like takes it in and goes, "Yes, that's I think that's better. I think we're ready." And she leads the two of you forward. Minnie's still holding your hand. You can feel a slight tremble in Rosemary's now as you walk up towards the assembled group. The Reverend is standing on a small raised rock, and where he is oriented, the sun will rise directly behind him. The sheriff is just nearby. He's seated on an upturned bucket, and you can see his hands trembling. And as he's looking down into the ground, he's repeating some of the earlier sermons that the Reverend has given. He's talking about the serpent and the guide, and the fangs will no longer bite, and I will feel no venom in my veins. And he's holding his hand out and shaking. Dr. Sam isn't here, actually. His head has swollen further from the blistering and the heat, and you get the scent again that he has reapplied the oil to his form, and even like his hands are red. He's coated his entire body. He's rolled his sleeves up now, and the like swollen one that he punctured earlier has crusted and scabbed over slightly. But this is a man who is unwell, and were you taking odds? You're not entirely sure he will survive this journey. The last.
Oh, is he coming to? That's right. He's coming too, isn't he?
He's coming to.
I do have first aid. If you were saying like, is Sam here for medicine reasons? I do have above base
give me a first aid or
just
survival.
like for information.
It'll be first aid or survival.
Okay.
Yeah. I want to be clear. I'm totally fine to not make this because I don't know what like risk of failing if I got
no risk,
a fumble.
No risk. I mean,
I
fumble you might reveal something. It's up to you.
Okay. Yeah, I'll make.
I mean, dude looks bad.
Well,
wow, well done.
There you go.
I guess that's fine.
It's kind of more of the same. You believe this man has fasted throughout the night, and since receiving the drink, he has taken no water in, he has eaten no food, and he is beginning this trip already near exhaustion. He might not have even slept. You can see heavy rings under his eyes, and they're sort of like tinted red. The last man coming is George Henson, the guy who was throwing things around, and he's going to be coming along as well. He has a rifle slung over his back, and he's currently doing these stretches and leaning down, overextending, potting it out, and he's just clearly super jazzed to get going. He's talking about he goes, when the sun rises, it's going to be beautiful, and I'll race you if we need to. If anyone needs a break at any point, let me know. I'll carry you. It'll be awesome. Can't wait to get started. But he stops talking when the Reverend holds his hands up and the sun rises behind him, casting sort of like glints off his dark hair, and very much the biblical picture he sees himself to be. He twists his hands open, palms up, and he says, "We step forward now on a voyage from which you will not return. When you come back, you will be born again. You will be your better selves. And through his word, through his power, you will be new. You will be whole, and you will be everything you dreamed you could be." And Rosemary, under her breath, you can hear her going like, "Hallelujah." And the sheriff pulls himself up to his full height, and he's a tall enough man, big as well, and although he's a little unsteady at first, he takes the first step forward towards the desert. The Reverend holds out a hand and says, "Let me help you, brother." He puts a hand on him, and then he leans out like an elbow to link with yours, Minnie, and he says, "And let me help you, sister."
How come he gets a rifle?
You talk, and he's holding his hand out. Rosemary lets out a little gasp and goes, "Minnie!" And then the Reverend says,
I thought we weren't supposed to be taking weapons or anything like that.
The Reverend says, it's no mind. Mr. Henson has already made the voyage, and this rifle will not be necessary. However, there's been a lot of new people coming into town recently, and not all of them we can trust. He provides, Minnie, but we need to protect ourselves as well. And there is a sinister
I didn't realize he'd
undertone.
already made the... Yes, I bet. I didn't realize he'd already made the journey. Well, that's quite all right then. Meanwhile, in the back of my mind, I'm thinking, you're not some big mythological figure. I've seen your wiener.
Oh my.
Rosemary steps back away from you, finally releasing, and you can link arms with the Reverend if you so choose.
I do. It's so much harder to take somebody seriously after you've seen them, even in a dream state.
Weird,
just
naked,
just laid out in the nude with an egg put into their stretched out belly.
Really,
but like,
really takes the shine
I've seen
off.
your danglies. You're not impressive.
You link arms with the Reverend, and he steps forward. The sheriff is shaking slightly, but he begins to find his stride, and you walk out towards the desert. George Henson taking long, powerful strides behind, and his head sort of like on a swivel. And as the sun rises behind him, begins to beat down, you begin your long journey.
Hey.
Rosemary doesn't leave for quite a while, Carter. She stays and watches. And she kind of like just takes it almost takes it in. Like there's a silence that you stepping away would break.
I don't step away until they are out of sight.
Okay.
Because that is going to give me the best idea of the line they're taking. I want to see if they're, if they do begin a sort of line out and then it starts to sort of deviate a little, or like what, I'm assuming there are on the horizon, or at least somewhere in my vision, landmarks that I can roughly go like, right, that's that, and
there are some you could triangulate.
So if they are between these two landmarks, horizontal landmarks, then they're kind of within this area. Again, doing my best to get as much information as possible to help us when it comes to tracking them, when we may not have them in line of sight.
100%.
So making that as easy as possible, or to locate them if we can't track them.
At first, when
directly.
during the dark, it's actually almost the easiest to spot them in that sort of like twilight state. And then as it begins to rise, you can see the glint of the metal woven through Minnie's hair for a moment, but then the heat in the distance begins to set in, rising and causing sort of aberrations in your view line, and soon they are going to be swallowed by that and seen no more. But you have the direction, at least. And at this point, per your pre-established plan, it will be time to go and meet with the others and begin your trek.
Does Rosemary move as they go out of sight?
She's probably not the first to stir. No,
Okay.
she probably
In that
stays for a
case-
little while longer.
In that case, once they're out of sight, because I do need to move, but I don't want to make it seem odd, given that there's only the two of us now standing.
Yeah.
I will just address her briefly and say, thank you for seeing Miss Sinclair off safely, Mrs. Adams. I hope the rest of your morning is peaceful and prosperous.
When
And
she turns when you address her, and her eyes are full of tears and streaked down the side of her face and begin to pull at the edge of her chin. When they sort of drop down, she turns to look at you, and she just has this like expression of like deep thumping sorrow sort of that comes from the chest. It looks as if she's just seen someone she cares for very deeply. It's so intense. And then she shakes it a little bit, and it's still there, and she says, like through shudders, like, you as well. We'll see her when she returns.
The Lord does indeed work in mysterious ways, Miss Adams, and it is often a sight to behold when he does.
And she
Nod,
turns
nod.
and looks into the sun, and you can hear her saying praise as you now turn to go and join the others. And you get the impression she will probably stay here and wait until she can see Minnie coming back over the horizon. If it is Minnie
solid,
that returns.
Solid Dark Souls vibes, praise.
Praise the sun.
At least her heart's in the right place. You can give her that.
It's right next to the
can't you?
parasite egg.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Is it still
exactly.
her heart or?
Just above the spleen. I'm very familiar with the location of hearts, because
Alright.
don't ask questions. Sorry. Carter is very familiar with the location of hearts. Don't ask questions. I meant that to begin
Yeah.
with, definitely. I will return to Sam.
I get the impression that as soon as you're all out of sight, this kicks right back into like the pulp overdrive. Like it's like rush to stations, and Dr. Sam, you whip off the top, and there's the, this beautiful flying machine, which you spin the propellers, get your goggles, and you go, fly, Lancet, follow the sun. And you throw them to the air, and you like, swoop into the distance. Hubert heads to the
If we're
It's a
doing-
great
stable.
time.
It's
If we're
fucking
doing
awesome.
pulp,
Yes,
then
please.
Ares does not rush, but in like the cutscene of Sam like pulling things off and getting the engine ready, Ares just like strides into
So sick.
into like the frame with like the cloak behind them, being like, "Whenever you're ready, Sam." Sort of-
Roger that. Chucks away.
Far too excited. He's got a little role playing he's doing in his head. But since he's getting on the horses in his full cowboy get up, he's not Hubert anymore. He is Huberto, and he is with his great horse Caballo. His Spanish isn't great, and he's going to go off into the sunset. Well,
Hell
sunrise.
yeah! As we begin to ride out, taking a wide arc around the town. Yeah.
I'm assuming it is fine to do so, but I will make it very clear that I have relayed to both Sam and Hubert that there is a man with a rifle
Yeah.
who is accompanying them. And hence
Hubert
it's
might
George
not have
Henson's.
that
Okay.
information.
Yeah,
You will know
the
that.
problem was is that you relayed to Hubert, and there's only Huberto on the scene.
I understand.
See.
And you spoke in English.
Yes, of course.
You will know,
Okay,
George.
well-
You were already told Henson was going with you. You'll know that much. But you won't necessarily know that he's armed.
All right. I will at least tell Sam, obviously, so
Yeah,
that Sam is aware, and also because Sam was able to assess Henson specifically. I think Sam's the one that has the most idea of what this man is capable of.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. All right. We're going to zoom out a little bit here as Minnie begins the long trek through the desert. At first, it kind of retains a reverential feeling, a feeling of reverence rather, as you're walking, and the Reverend and Henson appear to be very much unfazed by the beating heat. They continue to walk forward, and Reverend Cornfield basically walks with even strides. He keeps his arms linked as long as he can, and whenever you kind of stumble a little bit, he doesn't give you a lot of time to rest. It could be seen as like, oh, it's good, he's kind of helping us forward. He is something to lean on. But if you feel like if you fell behind and couldn't lean, you would be left in the dust. So you can kind of take advantage of him to lean on a little bit. But as soon as you begin to linger, you basically get yanked along. The sheriff is struggling almost from the get-go, but he seems so determined to go that should his feet fall apart to blood and blisters, he will march there on bone. And he is already holding on to the Reverend quite. He's shifted to like get an arm around him, and he's kind of being helped along after only a few hours, but he is determined. The Reverend marches forward, unstoppable. Henson, that's the bloke working in the lumberyard, has a strange gait to him. That endless energy has faded for a sprint forward, almost at like full tilt, bent over, almost touching the ground as he runs, and then he stops, stock still, unmoving, occasionally surveying the landscape until you catch up, pass, and then eventually you hear the as he goes sprinting past you again into the distance, pauses, looks around, and then you'll catch up, and this pattern continues. After the first...
Deeply
He's a
disconcerting.
deeply weird man.
After the
Not
first
a man.
4 hours have passed, Minnie, I need you to make a Constitution roll.
Constitution roll. Yeah, and this is where I get absolutely destroyed after all my extremes earlier.
Mm-hmm.
That's it.
No, it's not. Never mind. Be
Okay. You're holding it together. As you said, you are beginning to get sunburn. Like you can feel that coming in. You are drenched in sweat. You are so thirsty, but you are an explorer. You're an adventurer. You've been in places before,
Been
and
here.
you're
Done
able
that.
to push it down. You are completely all right for this first phase. I'm going to privately roll for our friend. Send to keeper. The sheriff looks bad. The blisters have gotten worse. They are angry and red, and the smell of oil that he has slathered over his forearm smells like cooking meat now. You can see singed hairs, and it is an angry red that you know come tomorrow. If it doesn't turn immediately into like, you know, something way more serious, like second or third degree burns or whatever they are, it is going to peel away to reveal just like raw, spongy flesh. He is not in a good way. You can also see one of his feet are already limping, dragging behind it, and it looks as though he has quite bad blisters. Yet he marches on.
Did that to himself, and I don't think it'd be appreciated if I asked why.
Do you talk?
Fuck no. I'm out in the desert with no water. I ain't talking.
Preserve energy. You will notice that both Henson and the Reverend appear unfazed by the sun, unfazed by the march, and although there will be a slight pooling of sweat that drenches down their brows, it is ignored completely, and they seem to be propelled forward by some inner well of strength. You don't see them phase at all. Do you attempt to do anything as you're marching? Do you try and let one of these pocket mirrors slip to the ground? Do you take in the surrounds and see if you can spot your friends following you, or do you have faith that they are there?
Nope, I don't want to do anything that'll give myself or them away. I've got the shiny metal thing in my hair. I think the mirror I'd try and drop a bit later on if I don't accidentally, or if there's no way for me to. I'm going to keep an eye out, but I'm not going to look around.
Okay.
Because I know they're going to be in the area. So, it's one of those things where I'm not going to conspicuously try and search around, but I have an awareness that I should see at least Lancet at some point. When you're looking for something without really looking, and you've just got it in the back of the mind that it's something you're going to notice if it shows 100%.
Up. All right, that's great. Okay, we are going to head across to our others.
If I can help the sheriff at any point later on, sure, but it's not worth risking at this stage, I don't think.
Okay,
when he reapplies, you might be able to get his back to the few trainees that he can.
Right, yeah, of course, yeah. Just get some oil in some of those hard to reach places, really make sure that he's really fully crispy, yeah.
Okay, we're going to go across to the other three now. So you've raced to the entrance, and Huberto has taken off.
Can I say something as we begin quickly?
Yes, please.
So, really funny thing. From the first moment we started playing, I have been making a big deal about how I can track everything.
Yeah.
And that was because I have realized I was trying to be overconfident Hubert, and I said it so often, I forgot it wasn't true. I've got 10 in track, which I think is perfect.
No.
I get out there and I go, shit.
You've got 10 in track?
I've said it so long throughout the entire campaign, it was a bit the first time. And then I joked so much it became true. This is like a meme.
In your mind.
God.
In your mind, Jim. It became true in your mind.
I know. This is...
It's not the same as it becoming true, as I think I'm about to find out.
Oh, now we're fucking cooking. We're oiled up and we're under the beating sun.
Oh my God.
Alrighty.
I'm really good at writing. I'm really good at navigating. I'm pretty good at natural world. I just can't track.
Okay.
Oh, well.
And now we
tried.
get to it. The track roll. So, Lancet is set loose, and the flying machine takes off after a long enough window that you think you won't get seen, and you're a little bit out of town. You have to go to the adjacent area. And Hubert, probably less conspicuous, begins to race along on the horse to pick up the trail. Now, this is going to be a track roll. This is going to be a hard track roll. However, you do have a bonus dice from Lieutenant Carter's investigations.
The bird, surely.
Hang on, let's think this through.
What are we... Sorry, I was trying to look up how range works in Call of Cthulhu while we were doing this because I thought I wasn't in the scene. What are we doing with my bonus dice?
You got the map out and you think you had it. This was what you rolled. You got that hard navigation earlier, so you think you have the direction, which is giving a bonus dice on the track roll. Sorry, you could also use it on the stealth roll. Although
because
he needs it on the track roll.
Yeah, you might want to stack those.
Sorry, so I'm giving these because Hubert is the one who's going to need to make stealth and track.
He was making the track roll, yeah, to get started. Yeah.
Okay, but we don't.
You guys are further back because you guys are keeping the flying machine out of sight.
Yeah. Easy done. Yep. Use whatever you want.
I feel very dumb.
It's all right. You got the luck to burn, and a 10 to a 5 for the hard is barely a difference at this point.
I know. It's just it'll
be fine.
Out of control. I am not in the habit of doing this. Maybe I am, and I just don't recognize it. Here we go. First roll.
Good start.
Okay,
Strong start.
we can go
Just need a
lowest.
zero. Just need a zero.
Okay, bonus.
Okay.
How much luck have you got?
Not enough.
You don't have 40?
I do not have 40.
49.
It's 49. Okay. You could push this.
I'm gonna need to push this 100%. I'll start. Can I pitch exhausting myself? I start whipping up and down.
Yeah.
Like doing just
Guessing lost.
Cool.
No, so that pointedly, this isn't going to be getting lost. This is going to be putting you to exhaustion, Hubert. And this isn't. There is another period of fight. And what this just means is, if you think you've lost the trail, you'll need to all be more desperate in finding it again, which means it's going to be harder to spot. But go ahead, and I tell you what. Do we want to give a bonus dice for Lancet at this point and basically take that off the table as well, as it's been used?
Well, yeah, I guess Lancet could either guide us or he could guide Hubert.
Yeah,
right?
if you maybe send Lancet down to it to assist. I mean, also you could look up to. I mean, Lancet was basically following Minnie, so it's looking up for that.
I don't give it to me now because it's I've already used the first one and I can't luck this. So
I was gonna say, would the assumption not be like the bonus is kind of Hubert going, oh, there's Lancet, he's been following. Like, is Lancet going to need to find Minnie, or is Lancet being used as like a way to give us bonuses because he's on Minnie?
Lancet's giving you bonuses. Lancet's giving you bonuses.
Yeah, Lancet's already on me. He's a bird. Nobody cares.
Yeah.
It'll just be which part of the party is he providing the bonus to?
Okay, yeah.
Okay. So I'm not going to take the extra bonus. I'm just going to push this roll.
All right, go ahead and reroll completely.
Making a track check.
That's also a hard success.
Which is what you needed.
It's a hard success.
You needed it hard as well, not just a normal. If you got a 9, that would not have done it.
So what? That was a 5% chance? Good God.
That's absurd.
All right, Hubert, you could feel
roll of the campaign.
Actually, I'll let you decide.
Hubert is good at track, is what we're saying.
Yeah, Hubert can track.
I think you possibly realize, because you get out there and this is a wide desert, there's very little signs, and you sort of like racing along and you realize quickly that it would be so easy to lose Minnie out here. She could put at any one of these things, go down a ravine for a moment or just head off and the heat wave would capture her. If they hook in any direction for a moment, you would be lost. But just as you're beginning to give up hope, you're racing along, pushing yourself to the absolute extreme, you just catch in the distance the glint of something, light catching, and as you pull your horse to a stop and peer out into the distance, eagle-eyed, you will see a figure suddenly break out into a sprint to catch up with the rest, and you realize you have found the group. You were on the edge. You also realize if you'd continued off in the other direction, you would have lost them completely. But now as you turn, swinging around, rearing the horse up and in the other direction, you just catch the flying machine beginning to cruise along the horizon and keep pace with the rest. You have found her at least, and half the journey is over. Well done.
I think, just for the record, it's very much Hubert loses, as it gets more and more frantic, he loses all of the joviality about him and looks very serious. It is suddenly moving frantically and directly. Great. There we go.
Okay. You've caught up, but have you caught up on noticed? I'm going to now need both groups to make... actually, it's going to be... Let's keep this collective. You're working together. I'm going to need one stealth roll. This is going to be... It was at base extreme, but you are hanging back, so it's going to be hard. You could move this down to normal, get a bonus dice if you're willing to kind of lose the trail a little bit. It's up to you. What do you...
Do we call this a pilot roll rather than being stealth?
You know what? Yes, but we'll get Hubert to make a ride roll if that's okay with both parties. I think that kind of plays in your wheelhouse as well. And this is letting yourself rear back and then,
I'm also
I think
happy
you've
for
made
us
me...
to
Maybe you made me
be...
make a stealth roll before.
There definitely would be stealth if you were right close, but this is actually using your skill with the plane to move up into cloud cover. And once you actually move in the second leg, I might have you do a proper stealth roll because you'll be getting closer at that point and moving in towards the thing. But for this one, it's just skill at staying far enough back while keeping the trail. You don't actually need to be right behind the group.
Mm-hmm.
I'm also happy, like, if it makes more sense, because the plane and Hubert are not near each other. So if, like, I'm happy to keep like them as sort of two groups if that's
I prefer them to
narratively
be
interesting.
separate. If one fails, then at least
That
I've
is true,
still
yeah.
got somebody else around.
Well, if one of you gets spotted, there will possibly be a change in strategy from the cultists. All right, go ahead and can I get a piloting roll from Dr. Sam, a ride roll from Hubert, and these are both going to just be straight rolls. Actually, this is not super difficult at the moment. It's hanging back, and Hubert did succeed his track roll.
Here we go.
Oh,
He's a
God.
gun.
Good,
He's a
he's very
gun.
good.
He does a backflip.
Oh.
I'm one luck off.
Are you one luck off?
Oh.
So, Hubert, this will be you being seen. This is you move too far forward during your thing. This is you get spotted. You have two options. You could push this roll, and you could attempt to, suddenly as they're looking over, you race fast as you can for the nearest cover. And risk, same as previously, exhausting yourself, or possibly taking your horse out of action, needing to follow on foot. Actually, let's do that. Horse out of action, follow on foot. You don't want to risk killing the beast, and taking it out of the sun will not suit. Or you can adjust this failure to be you lose the track. You lose the trail. You are hanging back long enough that you will not get spotted, and you will need to pick it up once again.
If we lose this track, I am never picking it back up. The chances of that were ridiculous.
Yeah, but also you're good at track.
We're pushing this roll, I think.
Yeah, baby. Make a break for it. Yeah.
All
You're
right,
mad
so
dog.
push it real good.
statistically, we should be fine because I have a skill of 60.
Jim, stop.
true.
Stop.
The math
Stop.
is
Just
there.
fucking roll your dice.
He's
I know
right,
Statistically,
though.
you should have failed that
He's
track
right.
roll,
I
so here
should
we
have.
are.
But he's
So,
right.
With that in mind,
The dice.
mother.
Okay. You race forward fast as you can for the edge, absolutely burning out the horse, sending, dust flying as you careen towards a set of rocks. You don't know if you were seen or not, but as you get to the other side, the horse is frothing, it's exhausted, and you don't think it can make it any further. You are going to have to step off it, leave it here, or, send it back home, whatever horses do, and continue on foot.
Yeah, can I thematically give enough for the horse to be able to trot back to town so I don't have to feel just awful,
you
and
are-
then I'll have to.
You are 4 hours out.
Yeah.
I also don't want to, I think there are farms around here. You possibly go that way. You'll find a new house.
I mean, if you don't want to feel bad about it, you'll have some water and rations on you. Give some
Yeah,
to the horse
I
to make
think-
sure it doesn't die before you go.
I'll
And
probably
then
give it some of my water and then I send it to a farm. As
Okay.
best I can. Good luck.
Good luck, horsey. All right. I'm getting up because Henson's keeping an eye out, and Henson has a spot hidden roll. Let's
Ooh.
roll it.
Oh, no. I humaned the hell out of this.
I'm whispering.
You,
the
you
key.
did Hubert this.
Whispering the key because I'm not going to let you know.
This
if
is-
bottom.
This is turning into a rescue mission slightly sooner than I think we anticipated.
And
So-
for somebody slightly different.
All right.
Help.
After
Can't get up.
as Dr. Sam and Carter sort of wing along, you'll see Hubert step off, and then shouldering his pack, he begins to head off along the trail. You still got it, and you're following along it, hanging back a little bit. As you are moving along, we're going to extend back out, and Minnie, after a little while, you've kind of lost track of time. It's just the onslaught, it's the concert. You can feel your feet aching. You have kind of helped the sheriff side to support him. The pattern changes for the first time as Henson sprints up but does not go past. And he leans in on the other side of the Reverend and under his breath says something to
I'm
him.
on the other side of the Reverend.
Then he shows it on the sheriff's side. He is clearly trying
The
to do it
sheriff's
without you hearing. If anything, the Reverend might actually hold you for a moment and says, let's wait here for a moment, and then we'll continue. And they step away for a beat. Could you please make a listen roll if you want to try and listen?
I would like to listen in very much. I'm not great at listen. I'm a spotted gal. I can luck that. We're good.
Nice.
You hear very quietly, someone is following us. And the Reverend
That's
says, then you'll know what to do.
but they don't know who. They just know someone. That's not the worst.
And
We can deal
Henson
with
nods, shoulders the rifle a little bit to keep comfortable, and the Reverend says, all right, let's keep going. We're halfway there. When that's the Reverend. When the sheriff goes to get up, he almost cannot for a moment. He like tries to push himself up and he falls back, and he pushes himself up again and he falls down. And the Reverend, standing a little bit before him, will look down and will say, "You'll need to rise to continue. Step up, Sheriff. Step up." And you can see him struggling to get up. You succeeded yours, Minnie. You can stand up easily. You're exhausted, but you're able to rise. Do you move to help him in any way?
Yeah, I didn't slather myself in oil or anything. I'm good. I'm fine.
Like an idiot.
Like an idiot. I was going to suggest that I do a first aid on him. I've actually got okay first aid, but in the interest of, if I would like to save somebody's life today, I actually think it's better for the sheriff if he doesn't keep coming.
Okay.
I know that my pals are in the area and can, I feel like getting to the destination, if he can't make it to the destination, that's probably good for him.
Possibly, although, given you don't know what the destination is, if he is left out here in the sun, he will probably die. To make this just a little bit more...
natural death without a parasite in him,
also
sure.
True. He will, after trying to get up, he tries to hold up, and the Reverend says, "You will need to rise." And at this point, he will look to you standing, and he says, "Help me then, sister. Let's do this final part together."
I'll look at the Reverend and just kind of, is there any intimation that he is expected to do this alone, or?
No, the Reverend looks between the two of you and will say, "He will be a burden, and you will need to help him. But you have a good heart. Understands there is a risk to this. Not all who travel this path will be accepted, and if you believe that your path takes this man with you, then so be it."
If my friends have been spotted and I leave him here, he's screwed. If I take him with us, he's probably screwed and full of parasites. But I'm still trying to stay in the Reverend's good graces at this point, so I will try and do a quick first EAD on him and help him up.
Okay, all right. Give me a first aid roll.
No, sorry, buddy.
You don't know. You can just reach down and help him up. You can pull him to his feet, but he is going to be leaning on you from here on out.
Is the Reverend still offering me his arm?
Yes, and he has got the other, but you can feel this is a big man, and he is around your edge. You can smell the stink of the oil. Now, so when you pick him up, it's not only does the oil slippery, but like a bit of his skin's beginning to come back too, as the heavy burns are just like cooking this man.
I've made sure that I'm wearing white gloves. Like I'm wearing light fabrics covering as much as possible.
See, that's the person who knows how to go through a desert.
It's fine. I probably also stink quite a bit at this point, so it's fine. It's good. Whatever. Let's just keep moving.
All right. He drapes over himself, and you continue forward. It is at this point that you realize the path is beginning to change. You are not going in a straight path anymore, and you begin to move towards a rocky outcropping, which when you step up onto, you notice with some concern, leaves almost no footprints in your trail. And it looks as though you are heading towards some ravines and more hilly areas.
As we start to step up onto the rock formation, I'm going to fumble the sheriff. Who is a big man and covered in oil, so that shouldn't draw any suspicion. And as he falls, I'm going to slip the mirror out of my pocket, hopefully in a way that could be accidental if I'm spotted doing it, and basically kind of leave it there as like, we've gone this way. Right. Sorry, there's no tracks here.
It is time to roll the greatest skill in the game. Sleight of hand.
Sleight of hand.
You may take a bonus dice. Good. You've got sleight of hand! Minnie is the best character! Yes! It's so good!
So that's a success.
You champion! I thought you would have 5%
43 under 16. Of course I have sleight of hand! I have the best skills in the game.
Yeah, you let him fumble for a moment.
Except credit check.
As you're
except I credit.
You let him stumble a little bit, which you keep your hand around him and actually let go of the Reverend for a moment, slip in and dexterously flick the mirror in the other direction, and before anyone even hears it, you get there to back up, and it's only a stumble. It's only a minor fault, and then you're able to keep people going.
Just a little stumble.
You also time this as Henson has rushed forward, So you'll be catching back up with him, so there's no chance that he'll go back to spot it. And the mirror, as you continue on, lies glinting here on the rock. As you continue, I'm going to need to make another constitution roll, the second. And on this one, you are going to have a penalty dice as you are helping to carry the sheriff.
Sheriff's about to get dropped. Yeah, good. We're fine. Success.
You're able to do it. You keep going forward. Your feet are so painful. Your skin is burned, nowhere near the degree of the sheriff, but you are out underneath beating sun for 8 hours. And finally, you begin to get to a crack in the ground where it opens up. And as you stand over it, there is suddenly this massive boom and blast of air rushes out from it. You are all but knocked back from it. Your hair flutters backwards, and it is in no way cooling, as although it is icy cold. And with it, you can hear the hiss of narcal carried on the wind. And as you are all but not rocked back, neither the Reverend nor Henson are even remotely phased. And you can just hear over the wind, "We're here." Now we go back out to the others to see if they can find the same path. All right. You did keep the trail, Hubert. So there's not going to be a track roll for this section, and you are able to get out towards the rock. However, you need to catch up, and once it starts to move over this different ground, there is going to be another track roll here. However, you could flag to Sam that they might want to push the plane forward and risk it a little bit. It's up to you. We are once again, so this time it is going to be a stealth roll because you are getting closer and you're going to want to catch up now. The sun is nearing its apex. So it's going to be stealth rolls from collectively. It can be each party if you want. So stealth roll from each party, and I am going to need a track roll from someone. And again, the stealth roll is going to be hard because you are fairly out in the open. Actually, Hubert, you're on the ground. It's probably just normal for you. Hard for those in the air.
I will signal like lost, basically. That I don't know where to go, but I still will try after signaling.
Yep. Oh, that's true. You can actually possibly go with them independently as all. All right. So it's going to be, once again, a hard track roll. Actually, Minnie successfully dropped the mirror, so it's going to be a standard track roll from here. So standard track roll from either of you. If you want to gain a bonus dice, you can push further forward. That's going to make your stealth roll harder and risk you being seen.
Could I argue climb instead of stealth, make the idea that I'm actually using the landscape to my advantage here? I'm on foot, getting around.
I tell you what, it'll move to a bonus dice for you if you succeed, with a failure being some minor damage. As you're basically taking a risk to like go down and skirt around something. It's not gonna completely circumvent it. At the end of the day, you might be being looked for.
Great. Yeah.
But do either of you want to make this harder on yourselves, push forward, and try and get a bonus on the track?
So currently we have one bonus on the track. Yeah, I'll push forward closer and try and get a bonus on the track.
Okay. Do the two in the air.
So where? Oh, what are we following? Like, what are we tracking?
Currently, there's the mirror. And then you're hoping to find some other signs of, things left by the wayside, a bush that's been stomped through, a bit of, dirt that's been treaded across it. It's difficult circumstances in which to search for people.
So are we going to need to make a track roll independently of Hubert's? Or are we keeping an eye on Hubert?
If you are in communication, you can, either one of you succeeds, you can communicate it to the other. But yeah, so Hubert, previously you were relying on Hubert to track it. Now Hubert's gone. Okay. I think it's this way, but and you can surge forward in the plane and get a better angle on it. The risk is being seen.
I mean, I don't think any of us have a better track than Hubert, so I would leave it up to Hubert as to whether or not he plans to push forward. In terms of the plane, does the extreme piloting give us any kind of benefits on stealth at this point?
Got you through the last one, but for this one, you're a talented pilot, but you're going to need to make that stealth roll.
Yep. All right.
Yeah.
If we need to make stealth roll on the plane, I have relatively good stealth.
That'll probably assist Dr. Sam, I think. I think you're the one pushing the buttons here. It's going to be but you'll get a bonus.
I can fly where I'm told. But anyway, what are we doing now? We're going to decide.
So
I think we need a track roll.
All
First and foremost, we need the track roll.
And Hubert, you're going to push forward to risk possibly being seen a bit. So and to make this track roll. All right. So you head forward. We'll resolve the stealth after the track. Let's see if you can find it first. Go ahead and make a track roll with 2 bonus dice. This one's normal difficulty because you are following the previous track.
Yep. I wiped the sweat from my brow. Poor Cavallo is gone, but we're going to make it. Here we go. First roll. That's
okay.
lovable.
Okay.
All right. Fish for crits. No. It was just regular too.
Yeah, just regular, right? 4 points.
All right, I give you 4 points of luck.
Okay. You're able to, there's that sort of like, you crouch down and you pick up the mirror. This is the way that Minnie came. Snap it shut and continue on. Leaving, actually, you can probably use the mirror for a moment to signal those in the sky, this direction, and then you kind of go, follow me, and then you head along. All right. It is now going to be stealth rolls from both parties. Hubert, first of all, give us a climb roll, just normal difficulty. Penalty is some light damage. Success will get you a bonus on this stealth roll.
I will give you 8 points of luck.
Okay. Would you rather the 8 points of luck or a D4 damage? Just heads up. Actually, sorry, but you won't get the bonus, so yes.
Exactly, and
okay.
I want the bonus because,
okay.
8 points of luck versus a bonus die is,
All right. So you are able to sort of like edge along the side of a cliff. You're climbing low, then you scramble up something and head down. So for both parties...
just to build suspense, though, I have dropped under the 30 luck. Get me out of dying.
Oh, hell yes. Now we're cooking.
Oh,
all right.
No.
Now, for both parties, it is going to be a hard stealth roll. Dr. Sam, you can take a bonus dice from Lieutenant Carter's assistance, and Hubert, you can take a bonus dice from your climb. Just giving some context, the reason the flying machine is hard is because it's in the sky. The reason Hubert's is hard is because he risked moving forward for the track success. So that's the context of things. All right?
I'll let you two go first this time. Let's watch your...
Oh, leave me alone. I got no stealth. Here we go. A 1.
Oh.
And the bonus. Well, I do have 19 points of luck, so I think that was a good time to spend it.
It needs to be hard.
Oh, hard.
It does need to be hard.
Well,
so
I think I have 29 points of luck.
Okay,
I think that's
all
a
right.
good time to spend it.
You're sort of like humming along the low points and very regularly killing the engine to make no sound as you try and reorient yourself to the others. You're also probably looking for a landing point at this section because you think you're getting quite close. So you're beginning to scan for that. You have succeeded, Hubert.
I have a stealth of 20, which means a hard rate of 10. I have 20 luck. I need to roll a 30.
Okay.
You can do that.
Bonus.
Okay.
Well done. Go ahead and roll again. See if you can get that 6.
No.
Far out, mate.
So
It's
6 points luck.
6 points.
I will luck you to a...
Hubert's a goddamn
Do you still get to
ninja.
mark that as a success on your sheet?
Nah, needed a hard.
No,
Unfortunately.
because the challenge...
You do.
The
No,
challenge
you
was
don't. You
hard,
don't. You need to defeat the challenge level to.
Oh,
to get it.
yeah. Oh, yeah.
All right. Well done, though. You're able to push forward. So, as Hubert, pulls himself moving along the edge and finally scrambles up not far from the area, you found another final trail and hunched low, you're going to move forward. The flying machine skims along the ground and just begins to weave along when suddenly there is a buffet of wind, Sam and Carter, and suddenly the plane sort of rears over and actually spins back for a moment. And Hubert, just as you pull yourself up to the edge, that same gust suddenly races through a couple of the crevices nearby and almost sends you bowling over and back down this hill. Minnie, where you are, you suddenly hear a voice emanating from inside it. It's in Narcal and it fills your ears, but it's also inside your head as well. You can hear something hissing, whispering, and then it says, "I offer you the gift of Yig. Do you accept and enter my domain?"
You did.
Not a good sign.
I don't know if I want to accept. I want to enter the domain. I want to go in there, but I don't know if I want to accept. Can I just like?
The wind
Was this voice directed
It was
specifically
in my
at me?
head, right?
It appears to be. The others have not heard the voice. It's just you, Minnie. It is in your head, although the Narcals are. You can see as you are. You can feel this being pushed back, and actually, you're beginning to lose your footing. You're almost falling back down the mountain when you can see the sheriff, who's like had been a burden on you this whole time. Suddenly, he lets his arm go from you, allowing you to be pushed further back, although you've carried him all this way, and suddenly when he steps forward, it is as though the wind slipstreams around him, and he is completely unaffected by it. It is only you standing on the edge, being pushed back. Note, you could try to fight through this wind. It's not impossible, it's just hard. Or you could accept the offering.
I don't want any of his gifts, but I want in that cave. Can I mean, I know a little bit of Narcal. Can I...
Try to
I
find
I don't know if I really...
It might be a better idea to just say, no hubla Narcal.
Yeah, I don't know if I really want that one. That one going ahead.
You hear it in your own language. Like, the sheriff has accepted
Oh, okay.
it. He has taken on
clearly,
this.
I don't know if I want them to know that I know a little bit of Narcal. What's the Reverend doing?
The Reverend seems to be completely unaffected by the wind. And
Wow, so he's not going into the cave.
No, but he is about to. And you can see, as he says, they've actually already, as you've been blown backwards, he doesn't even really give you a second glance.
Oh, good.
You're
So he's not
knocked
really
back,
paying attention.
And then the three are stepping forward towards the cave.
Okay, and the same with our friend with the rifle.
That's right.
I'm gonna just try and fight my way through the wind. I'm not accepting any. I'm not
Okay.
accepting any of your weird fucking gifts.
As you push yourself forward, you sort of like your feet catch and you are just by an edge. Right near the back, and then you push yourself forward. There's gonna be a hard strength roll, and just flagging failure is going to send you flying away. Possibly they will just assume gone, and it will be a reasonable chunk of damage as you get basically flung across.
Not the first time I've
across
taken
the
a
cliffs.
reasonable chunk of damage. Is there any way that I can use, I guess, kind of the dream law that I've got, the kind of mental constitution against this stuff that I can kind of tap into and almost separate myself from mentally and physically from the influence of this thing?
You absolutely can, because you have actually successfully rejected this before. You may do this with a bonus dice.
Because I'm not strong. I go, hey, look at that.
Okay.
Dead on.
And it is a
43.
hard strength roll, so you need 23 points of luck.
Take it.
Okay.
Ow.
Good
You
idea.
get towards the edge, and then just as it sort of catches, you get flung over, fall to your face. But now the wind is going over you, and you're able to get forward with one handhold after the other, pull yourself to the edge, and when you drop down into the cave, the wind's gone. It's past you. There's nothing there. You're able to brush yourself forward, and when you step forward to the others, they haven't necessarily noticed that this is the means by which you entered. It could be that you just accepted a little late. As soon as you're in here, you have this feeling that you've been here before. It's familiar to those dreams you've had, and you can see further forward in the rock where it begins to shift and twist and lower itself down, a very tight squeeze, which you will have to push yourself in to continue. The hissing hissing maintains in your voice, that Narcal looping over and over. And just as we prepare to leave this session here for our 2-week break, Henson squats down, unshoulders the rifle, gets to the edge, and levels it at anything coming towards the center. As elsewhere, the plane flips over, begins to try and wrestle itself out of Dr. Sam's control as he tries to right the angles and balance it forward. Hubert stumbles back on the edge and tries to catch his balance, but all of this is where we're going to leave it, on quite a literal cliffhanger for 2 weeks to pick it up in the new year and find out what horrible nonsense is happening down there in the dark. Yeah, you're right. 3-week break, 2 weeks off. Thank you, Oz.
I have a plan.
All right, awesome. Well, thank you all for watching, and thank you all for playing. We will return on the 6th. It is the 6th, and pick everything back up then. Hope you all enjoy your holiday season and New Year's and things. Get into trouble, and yeah. I'll see you on the other side.
Watching all throughout this year and before
Yes, exactly.
and
Yeah.
the rest of it. You're all
Thank you
wonderful.
for watching. Have a wonderful, wonderful holiday season.
Merry
be
time
back.
zones.
Merry time zones.
to
Merry
all.
time zones.
Ding, 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 ding.
And to
right.
all a good time
And
zone.
to all a
Be
good time
good.
zone.
And if you can't be good at it.
That's great.
All right, we'll see you all soon.